How's it going, everybody? Welcome to our registration / Final Fantasy 16 celebration stream. You know, not every day a new Final Fantasy comes out, and since Square Enix so generously dropped the demo on us last week, we thought we should have a fun speedrunning related stream with the demo. So I'm joined here with Bob the Ninja Goldfish,
hello
Sid, and Kyoslo Monster. How are y'all doing today?
I'm here.
Great.
Sorry, baby kitten needed water.
I'm good.
I'm excited to watch Kios work. It's gonna be fun.
I'm ready.
So walking through real quick, first of all, if you guys don't know already, we do have registration for the event, and this is the last day to register to attend RPG Limit Break. So if you have not registered and or paid, go do that now, which I just did literally an hour ago. Not gonna lie.
It's never too late until it is.
So, but yeah, Bob, do you have anything more to say on that?
Yeah, just know if you want to attend the event, you're going to have to go to rpglimitbreak.com, make yourself a profile by clicking on profile, logging in the top right-hand corner, logging in, signing up, giving us all your information. Unfortunately, it is a bit too late for you to volunteer, but all the information you will need is there. If you are already a member, please, if you've gone through the whole Discord thing where they're making you change your name, you can just change your name on the website, and that'll set everything up for you. You don't need to worry about like emailing.
Now I'm remembering something I forgot.
Yeah, so I'll be honest with you, I'm just here to watch experts play a game, but none of them showed up, so we've got Kios and Sid instead.
Yep, that's about right.
So kind of walking through what the idea for this is going to be. This is kind of one of those things, because the demo is so new and Kios and Sid have only had access to it for, about a week now. This isn't going to be the best Final Fantasy 16 speedrun ever. Instead, it's more an exploration showcasing what goes into learning how to do a speedrun. When a new game comes out, what do you do to actually find out what's good, what's fast, so on and so forth. So kind of the game plan for the stream is we're going to have Kios walk through both of the demos, showcasing, a little bit of like, okay, I clearly played through the demo. What's fast? What's the movement technique I'm looking for? What are my combat options? What are all those things? And we're going to kind of walk through those together relatively slowly, try to learn how all that's going to go. And then once we do all that, Kios is going to walk us through with an actual speedrun of the demos.
Cool. You want me to fire it up and we'll dive in?
I'm good. Ready to go when you are.
Yeah.
Cool.
This is so incredibly short. Why don't we just do it twice?
Yeah.
Let's wait for it. So apparently we are playing Kingdom Hearts Birth by Sleep, which is interesting.
I only have so many buttons that I can remember to press at a time. I'll fix it. Give me a second.
So don't worry, we are aware of this, and it is being fixed.
I mean, don't worry. There's the gameplay there. You can figure it out. If you're confused about the two, just boot up Kingdom Hearts and you'll figure out.
I mean, there's no difference at this point, is there? Really?
So real quick, Kios, are there any settings in this setup that actually matter other than obviously turning it into the action and not the story mode?
No, I think with full release, knowing how Square Enix has been with their previous releases, I think we'll have a much bigger accessibility menu. Okay. People that have had the chance to play Forspoken will realize there's a lot of settings there. One big thing I noticed was they basically took the color blind. I don't know if that's the PC term anymore. I'm sorry. But like the different types of colorblind and had like almost like a slider panel for people that have trouble like processing colors properly. So I'm hoping we'll see that added to this in the future. But the only difference or the only options that you have off of the main menu are just the difficulty. I've been comfortable with action, which is more of I'm comfortable with action RPGs and action games. It just basically doesn't equip some accessories that instead of just being a continuous real-time combat scenario, it has little quick-time events for dodges and counters, and I believe also auto-heal, which is pretty nice.
There's actually one other difference. There's been some pixel math, and story is stealth easy, and action is normal. It's actually 30% less HP for story and 25% easier to stagger too.
Oh, that is nice.
Yeah, the people in the Discord have been hard at work at like figuring everything out, and maybe there's a little bit of information I'll have to add in the background. Then that'd be nice.
Yeah, I've just been really focused on movement and timing and stuff, and like it was one of those things for me. It was just like action difficulty. I'll take it.
Mhm.
A lot of times, like difficulty, especially in like newer games, doesn't make too much of a difference. I mean, 30% is rather significant and definitely
Yeah.
a good option if like this is your first introduction to an action RPG.
So at what point is Ifrit going to come back as Ifrit the White?
I don't know.
That's a very good question. So Kios is playing this out, but you can actually just kind of leave the controller alone.
Yeah,
Interacting with this changes nothing.
Shout outs to the intro to video games like Parasite Eve, my favorite speedrun intro. You hit start, new game, start your timer, and get up and come back 3 minutes later.
I've been doing that every time I practice story mode. I'm just like, I'm going to leave the controller here, guys, and enjoy this cutscene you've seen like 5 times before. I'll be back in 2 minutes.
Yeah,
I used to go run into a chore during the intro of Crystal Chronicles for the same reason. Just a 3-minute unskippable music video at the start of the run.
Yep, one of these people is definitely coming back as a different color.
Shout outs to Tomato Angus. The G is silent with his Fallout 4 speedruns, just walking in a circle, opening and closing the door until like the dialogue exhausts itself before the run starts.
Game please, I don't need to hear all this. So a lot of like the early stuff is just learning when the cutscenes are up to skip.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Unfortunately, right here on the camera change. Yep. And the one downside, if you're coming from 7 Remake, we don't have like a in-stick skip. We just have to hold triangle, but could be worse. We could not be able to skip them, so I'll take what I can get.
So very simple. You can move. It's it's a tutorial.
Yep.
I like how it even restricts running at this point too.
Yeah. It's a good helper, I guess. Like literally, I think a lot of things, a lot of games sometimes, as corny as it sounds, forget that some people this might literally be their first video game.
That's true.
The entire concept of holding a controller in their hands is completely foreign.
Yep.
So,
I often see like people that have just picked up 7 Remake just start skipping tutorials because they're overloaded, and this one kind of does a good job at pacing it out in between like story beats and stuff to kind of keep you from just being like, I don't care, I want to play.
So real quick, this game does have a jump button in it, right? We do know that.
It has a dedicated jump button, which is very exciting for me.
Is there any? How would you go about testing whether or not jumping or just running is faster? Is there?
I already timed it as a veteran of 15, where it's 15% faster to jump. It is actually a little bit slower from what I timed. Very specifically, I timed the very long corridor in the like the throne room, and just running was about 4 to 5 tenths faster along the way. I mean, it's not conclusive data, but it was at least good enough for me to say like it's not worth jumping.
Pretty much, you just literally go to one end of a hallway, run to the other, and then go back, and then jump. And that's the way of testing that.
As plain as it sounds, that is exactly what I did.
There's a bit of like obtuse movement tech where like jumping and air dashing is good. That is an interesting interaction. Normally, it should auto jump you up that. I don't know why the game was not happening.
So I actually skipped that little dialogue mainly.
Oh, you did the jump skip.
Because there's a bunch of naughty 4-letter words that I didn't think we needed this early in the stream.
That's actually a good call. Yeah, thank you.
Not a problem. So because you do that,
so since this first run through is about what you would do to find little things rather than being an actual speed run. We'll do an actual speed run later.
Yep.
How would you find something like a dialogue skip like that?
I think it was just accidental, and like I noticed after like one playthrough, and like just kind of starting to map out a speed run, that no matter what, you always stop there and there's that dialogue. And I was like, well, what if I just try and jump over it and see what happens? And you can just jump right over it. It doesn't save any time because, like you notice, I had to wait for the dude to climb all the way up to the top before Clive could get up there.
Yeah.
But a lot of times with speedruns, with a lot of times the easiest way to do it is to just test
Yep.
even the simplest of things. With Final Fantasy X, they just found or confirmed that skip that you can use an NPC to just kind of push you through a cutscene, which is really neat, which is almost like the opposite of movement tech because you're not actually doing
You
any
know
of
what
the
we
moving.
can we can look around for the items and see if any of these items are good while we're kind of ruminating on how we do
push this
things.
into a cutscene.
Yeah. No, I was just thinking like that's probably the best thing we can do because
Yep.
one of the things you want to do when you're routing is kind of check all the items around, especially when it's not like a new game. Kind of start with that, or a new game plus where you start with everything, and be like, is this item worth getting? What does it do for me? How much benefit does it give me? So like potions, maybe, but items that'll increase our strength, we might want to keep note of and possibly go for.
And
or
the other
if
thing
it
to
sells
note
for significant
is
value as well can be useful too. Just like
Mhm.
sometimes you need a certain amount of money, especially early on in the speed run.
Yep.
And picking up an item that could be selling for enough to buy, say a better weapon early on can end up being useful, of course.
the other thing that I like to do personally with stuff like that is also just like do a rough math, like one quick time of how much time am I sacrificing to go out of my way to get that versus just skipping it. Even if it's just for like the movement to get to this scene, not like, oh, well, theoretically I'll lose like 27 seconds in this battle later. I just want to deal with like a rough idea. Like if I spend 20 seconds here, I can calculate like, hey, if I'm testing this out, it'll be 20 seconds down here. Does it make up the 20 seconds later somewhere?
Yeah, because there was a potion right next to where we spawned, but we would have had to gone around one of the tents. So you can grab it as a beginner, but like for a veteran runner, we don't really need that extra healing. So it's like beeline straight for where we want to go.
It's really fascinating. I haven't tried to skip any of the cutscenes. It's almost random. It feels like what is and isn't skippable, huh?
A lot of these are actually skippable. We're just kind of like hanging a little bit slow here so we can talk a bit before we actually get into the action portion. Once we get to the swamp, we have
active. I like this. I know a lot of us have like waxed poetic about it, but having like a little just what is going on in this scene, and you can hit a button and it introduces you to like who's in the scene and what's kind of being discussed is so nice.
Yeah.
It's a cool feature if slightly silly name.
It's a bit silly, but like it keeps the dialogue from getting bloated and kind of over explaining simple things that you may have already noticed.
Or worse yet, an inventory full of notes you're never going to read.
That's also true, yeah. It's always annoying when all the lore is like, here's a bunch of like stuff in basically a journal in your menu that you can look at after the cutscene. So.
Or
like
a wiki built into the game.
Mm-hmm.
Here's my favorite feature. I mean...
Oh, yes. The doors.
Coming from Remake where you can just hold triangle.
I'm sorry.
Why?
What?
Yeah.
So I don't know what caused this, if it was just Sony wanted them to use their fancy controller, but if a door is heavy, you have to hold the R2 button. And it actually uses like the haptic trigger on it to like add resistance to you pushing and opening a door.
Yep.
No. You're making that up.
No,
that's the only logical reason.
Anyone would look at that on a design feature board and go, "No, that's just stupid."
Yeah,
no,
haptic feedback.
Literally, no one is going to want to do that.
Nope.
Why would anybody in their right mind want to do this? Why are we putting this in our game?
I went through the same thing, Bob. Literally the same thing. I'm like, no, you've got to be kidding me. Please tell me this is like the one time this will show, and then it keeps showing up. I'm like,
no,
hashtag gameplay.
Yep. I mean, to be fair, it is kind of cool. Like the first couple of times, I know, like after how many times I do it, I'm just like, come on, man, my fingers are tired. Like I don't want to do this. I can't just mash the trigger. Like you have to hold it.
Yeah,
With
like
certain games, like the haptic feedback is really cool, and I'm pretty sure you can probably disable it, to be like super honest, with like a full game menu. But I think it's a demo, and as much as it's a gameplay demo, it's still like a tech demo. Like, hey, like you should probably buy a PS5. You get this cool game with all these features.
Sony spent a
It's-
lot of money to get exclusivity on this. They're going to make sure that they're showcasing why you should buy a PS5 for it.
it's extra cursed because I have one of the Edge controllers, so I have the buttons on the back, and it's like, what are we gonna do? Let's get the battery life. Let's make the battery smaller and keep the freaking vibrating and the like force feedback and all this. And you're like, I just want to play the game. Why does this last 4 hours?
I am tethered. I am one of those people that is so nervous always about losing connection or dropping inputs. I am always hardwired to whatever I'm playing.
Oh, that's actually a nice thing. Like the Edge controller is like a plug-in and a little switch, so it like can't disconnect. So you can hardwire it super easy, so that like even if you jerk it, it doesn't come loose. Enough talking about the controller. Sorry.
Old habits die hard. All right.
It's good to have
Yeah.
it in for events at least. With so many
Yeah.
other people and controllers around, you can actually lose connection really easily.
Yeah. I'm gonna start skipping some cutscenes. This is like a 3-hour playthrough if you're sitting and
Oh, yeah.
watching all the cutscenes.
Yeah, we're gonna actually.
what
get
we
to
just saw
gameplay
was
soon.
Princess Rosalind and Anime Sean Bean having a conversation, right?
Basically, yes.
Okay.
Scene Bean.
I will say it's really impressive watching these cutscenes because a lot of them don't look pre-rendered.
They look pretty good, honestly.
Like
Yeah.
it's fascinating just to see how far we've come, which is super cool.
I did have somebody come into my chat and like, this game looks awful, and I'm like, what?
Hey.
Huh?
I don't know what they're looking at, but
I
be better.
I was trying to figure it out too. I'm like, are we looking at Clive's like freckles? What's the issue here? I'm not getting it.
Much like Final Fantasy 12, this was actually about 6 to 8 months ago going to be a 2-disc release until they figured out some optimization stuff. At least from what I've been hearing from legend of the RPG community, Dreambaum.
7. The 7 game is 2 discs, right?
Correct.
yes,
Yeah.
well, they're advertising it as on 2 discs.
Who
We have no
knows
idea what that means. They just said
Yeah.
coming next year
Yeah.
on
Cutscenes, install disc, who the heck knows, whatever.
It means
I'm
that
excited
they have
for it. But
it's got to be more than 80 gigs because
or they have some
True.
weird lore reason for having 2 discs or something. We have no idea.
yeah.
just the last game's 3 discs, just because.
So we're
Oh,
here.
so-
We have actual gameplay.
Yep. Let's take a look at the menu and see what we got to talk about.
Menu time. Everyone loves a good menu. Equipment and abilities. Probably, I would say, when it comes to any RPG speedrun, these are probably your two biggest menus, no matter what game it ends up being.
I love what I'm seeing in the bottom right-hand corner.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of us love it, but we're like, why is this here? So like in this weird, like, I'm just going to nitpick for no reason, but it's beautiful. Yeah. I love the pixel arts.
We have photo mode too.
So one of the things you may have noticed here too is there menus pop up every time we open a menu. So in the demo, if we can skip over, if we mash cycle twice, we can get straight to the ability menu and skip this. So we can save a little bit of time.
Yep, I just did it with system because I was already over, but
Yep. The one we really want to avoid is the map, because the map kind of lags for a bit every time we enter it, unless we want to do something.
so these are the accessories we were talking about. With story mode, they basically come equipped. You have auto heal, like an auto. Is this the auto counter?
I think one of them's, I don't know, it's blurry on my end because of Discord.
Yeah.
One of them will give us time to dodge, so it'll give us a couple of seconds to dodge. One of them will auto dodge for us, auto heal. And I can't remember what the third one does because I didn't even look at them too close.
I think it helps with the combos. It just kind of auto combos for you.
I wouldn't be surprised, yeah, with the way that there's classic mode and remake.
So the old ability tree, everyone's favorite. We have a bunch of options here. and a little handy guide of a rating of how much damage it does, as well as stagger, which will probably help a lot with our planning based on enemy combat. We have a ranged ability here, which also looks like it has movement tied to it. This is for most speedrunners. This is going to be an ability you're immediately going to look at because you can attack and close distance at the same time, which is perfect.
It surprisingly has a lot of utility, but we'll go over it more later.
I personally like this attack. I've been using it on larger enemies, but hey, it looks like there's multiple hits involved with that. So high DPS. DPS is good, especially with all the fights we're going to have.
More damage is more good.
Yep. We have a pretty powerful charged attack here, which looks like it can break through enemy guards.
That one's my favorite.
Pretty nice. Taunt, which I have tested and unfortunately doesn't do any extra damage. It just kind of pulls enemies towards you, which, maybe can be helpful. As we all know, trash mobs love to run directly away from you in every video game, especially in a speed run. Swift recovery, which is, if you're good, you're never going to get hit, but it's nice to have the ability to swiftly recover, and it also adds to combo chain.
When you're still getting good, stuff like this really can be helpful. It's something you can get rid of later, but keep early on.
I mean, even generally, you'll see even Kingdom Hearts speedrunners will still get the quick recovery and equip it just because you get hit at some point, no matter how good you are in most games.
Luckily, a lot of these abilities are really low in point investment, so it's not too much of a deficit to consider them at the very least.
Yep. For the DMC fans out there and the people that want to just call this a DMC clone, here's your Stomp ability, which is also handy.
Stomp is a really good one. So I want to see what route what you fell on, because I've been paying attention to Discord. So let's see what you got.
So I just honestly go with the normal startup. It gives
you just use auto. Interesting.
Yep. Personally, I could do without charged magic, but I will grab Swift Recovery and Stomp first.
Yeah, my route is Lunge, Stomp, and then Burning Blade for Dragoon, but we'll get there when we get there.
Yep. I do down thrust, which is rather interesting. So now I guess we could test out our abilities. I can't really stomp on anything. I don't think I can stomp on my party members.
It would be funny, yeah.
But we did get that really cool lunge attack, and that can be chained together.
Yeah. Initially, if you don't think to chain them, you're like, but I'm stuck still so long. But young Clive is a rather spry young fella and can just chain them together like a madman. So it's real good movement.
The other option we have is Phoenix Shift, which some people have been using, which is just like kind of a quick teleport, which I believe you can chain directly into attacks, which is nice. Get a nice opener.
It's not too bad, but the landing lag is pretty rough.
The landing lag is rough, but unfortunately with Lunge, I've noticed, has the ability to potentially knock enemies over and a bit away from them.
Yeah, there's a tech to like using Lunge super efficiently. So I guess we'll check out this item over here. And it is a staggering 2 gil. Well, that's a waste of time. I guess we'll skip that from now on. But yeah, Lunge can be a pretty nice attack. It lets us get in close to enemies. It does indeed knock them back, but if you can get the right angle, we can actually bonk enemies into each other with it. Might get a chance to see it here since we have a small encounter to kind of get our feet wet and find solid ground and kind of get used to combat.
It's our favorite trash mob, the goblins.
One of the nice things they do is when you have a clear file of this, you can skip the tutorial, which is what we did earlier. It's a super nice little thing they added that makes this a lot easier and a lot quicker to get into.
Definitely failed that stealth check.
I guess we should have got rid of Wade when we were choosing party members.
Someone rolling that.
But I think these goblin designs are pretty unique for Final Fantasy, aren't they?
Yeah, these are very different.
All right, ready to dive in?
Yeah,
Sure.
let's see how this looks.
So I'll give it a second here. Normally the first thing I will test with a game is just regular damage output. So 84, 84. Coming from my background specifically, where with 15 jumping attacks are faster and prevent you from slowdowns for animations, the first thing I tested was how much jump damage do I do? Wow, it's actually more.
Yeah, it's kind of wild how much damage you get on aerial combos.
It's a bit more, and the fact that there is a combo system and you can aerial combo, that's kind of what I've been working with.
There may be more.
As Bob said earlier, more damage, more better.
Yeah. Early game, we have very few options, so we have to be kind of creative with how we route.
So what happens if you start tying in stuff like Magic Burst then? Have you messed with that? What does that look like when you start?
Sure, we can bring that in. You can combo, hit him with a magic.
So now you can actually Magic Burst after every swing as well, too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so the Magic Burst finisher is a lot easier to hit, but the one in between hits is really, really difficult. I've tried it with like a regular controller and like one with buttons on the back to try and time it, but it's very hard to hit. Very few people don't use it. It does a lot more DPS, but it is a lot harder to hit.
We also have the Eikon ability here. I'm going to try and line some up. Looks like I got it.
Actually got a 2-hit. Yeah, nice. Yeah. That is a very small hitbox, so getting multi-hits with that's really difficult. Not impossible, but difficult.
Your ally there's having a good time.
Show off some dodge mechanics.
Oh, yeah.
What's up?
Getting a dodge off normal moves is...
I was just laughing. Your ally was having some fun there.
There we go.
But unfortunately, with all the focus we've had recently on kind of the FromSoft style games, I figured, hey, why don't we test and see if there's like a guard counter or like a parry bonus? Unfortunately, from regular evasion, like a precision dodge, there isn't any damage bonus. There is a parry mechanic though. We'll be introduced to that in a little bit. A little bit tricky to.
Yeah, you got to work for it if you want to parry. That's for sure. So one of the cool things with lunge here, it lets us get closer, but if you chain them together, you can actually push an enemy into a group of other ones. So how we hit one of them earlier with a wing or multiple, we can sometimes corral them together and get multiple hits out of them.
There's also a finisher attack when your enemy is down. It doesn't always do mortal damage, but if you do stagger a base enemy, they will get knocked to the ground, and you can get a nice, pretty nice either combo or critical hit, which is very handy.
Clive kind of missed his stab there. It was kind of funny.
I'd be worried that we're running low on HP, but we take Gigas a little bit seriously, we should be fine.
Yeah, I have one potion. There we go. Honestly, the rest should be pretty.
There's another potion on the other side of the bridge anyway, yep. So you could max out if you really wanted to.
I do jump over that bridge because if you try and lunge immediately out of the cutscene, you just bonk.
Ram into it, yeah. This is like, you could do lunges here, but it'll take you a while to jump over the bridge. So there's another movement tech where you like hop and air dash.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot more difficult, but in places like there, we have to interact with something. It's probably the optimal way to do it.
Yep.
Especially when it's such a small area in between. It's just very, it's not super precise. It's just a lot more effort than just mashing for lunges, unfortunately.
For a small tech note, having worked with a lot of newer and high-end consoles and computers, a lot of graphic grunt is needed to generate like glowing and particle effects, and a lot of times that's where you'll see frame drops or performance lag. Something in the background with how they run this, particle effects, not a big deal at all. Very consistent frame rate, and I've been quite interested in how they do, like how they've made that happen, because it's been quite consistent that it's pretty stable frame rate.
Have you messed with the difference between the graphics option and the performance mode, or is it?
Yeah, there is actually an option for that. I glossed over it.
There's some places where it's useful, but well, not in this game. In Remake, there's one place specifically, but in most games, it just makes it run worse and lower the frame rate, so it can be harder to get inputs.
In 15, we used it to absolutely destroy the game.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm. the any percent run, we basically force the game from 120 down to 30, and that causes it to temporarily like reload assets rather quickly, and we actually use that to abuse the invisible walls within the game.
Oh, yeah, we have some ways to get out of bounds. Unluckily, it's not that easy. So, go on with this. Didn't mean to cut you off.
So, our first, I don't know if I'd call it like a full-fledged boss, but kind of like a mini boss, tutorial boss, perhaps, would be.
Yeah, definitely.
Gonna go in, and I forgot to. Oh wait, I don't have stomp, but I can still do.
Yeah, you should have stomp.
Oh yeah, that's right. What did I not get?
You don't have it. No, you got thrust, stomp, and I guess you got down strike.
Yep.
I didn't see you pick it up though.
They have a cave troll.
Yep. And the cool thing is he's tall and down thrust, much like Resident Evil speedrun knife tech, does multiple hits, which is nice. Big, tall enemy.
I was not aware of that.
Yeah, that's with RE2 Remake.
That's why they're running on super high frame rates, because it like does damage based on the number of frames the knife is in them.
Oh yeah, I knew about that about RE, but I didn't think about the cleave actually hitting multiple times in the air here. It's like when I was routing, I saw a lot of people mentioning air combo, air combo, air combo. So you like do 3 hits, stomp, air combo, and then land and do it again because it does the most damage. So right here we got a stagger. This is pretty much like the stagger from Final Fantasy VII Remake. The way that we increase the like percentage multiplier is by using stars, I believe. So like every time you see these special attacks pop up with stars, I think it's 1.5, maybe it's a half star, will increase it by 0.05%. Unfortunately, we don't have Tifa here to just like belt the numbers up.
Yeah. Star shower.
Yeah, star shower, true strike, spam, done.
Cool. There's our little parry mechanic, which was just kind of introduced right at the end of that rather big wind-up.
Yeah, I'm impressed. I can't really get parries on command. I usually have to just go for the dodge counters. If I get a parry, I'm like, ooh, I got a parry. Ooh, piece of candy.
I'm not gonna lie, I normally don't get that stomp into second combo, so something is different today about how I'm either playing or holding the controller, but right now I just learned that you can air combo, stomp, air combo, and then down strike.
That's what I meant.
Pretty interesting. Like at least
the line is normally 1 grounded combo, jump, 3 hits, stomp, 3 hits, and then land and restart. But you could also end it with cleave like you're doing.
Yeah, that stagger damage is like 400 more than I normally would do there. All right, new tech, everybody.
Yeah.
That's the one thing in the stream. So
yeah.
So this is the difference between like Kios doing his own testing and me like just absolutely drowning in multiple Discord messages. And speedrunning is really a community effort. Yeah, it's super hard to keep up with. I've had a hard time too.
What you're saying is we've discovered new Steam tech. So stream's over. Goodbye, everybody.
Yeah. All right.
It's at least something for me to test. It's a new variable, because again, none of us have infinite hours in the day, and it takes a village to raise a child. This being our child, I guess. But for this, it means there's a number of ways we can do large amounts of damage, and it's not just how much damage do you do. It's also how fast do you do it. Inevitably, there will be the most optimal way to fight different enemies. And one of the things I noticed is when the troll is staggered, down strike, unless I'm in a very specific like position, only hits once. So that might not be the best tech for specifically this enemy. We're going to fight something later that's a bit bigger, and you can get 5 or sometimes 6 attacks on a down strike.
Yeah, I could see that. Because like when you're just, the one thing you want to do is get grounded so that you can dodge with the dodge button and then counter, which will do a lot more damage to stagger and have a higher damage multiplier. Parries are countering an attack with an attack, but even a lot of us have a lot of issues with it, so it's kind of right now it's considered pretty high level, but we are just in the demo, so maybe we'll find the timing.
The
at some
timing is
point.
honestly just spam.
A lot of us have kind of in the same position. That's like when we were talking about Magic Burst earlier, it does do more damage, but like the input from square to triangle, square to triangle, square to triangle, keep that. It's not like a perfect rhythm. Like the first two are on the same rhythm and the second two are on a different rhythm. So when it's maxed out, it's a little bit easier to do Magic Burst, but by the time we're able to max out Magic Burst, we have a lot more stuff that we can get. Oh, yeah, we grab down thrust here, nice.
Yeah, I'll do that and grab the rest of the other thing.
Yeah, I just remember I was watching another streamer play. I thought Magic Burst was only like when you did it, it would finish your combo, and they were Magic Bursting after every swing. I was like, oh, that's just something you can do.
Yeah, the woven dragon or Magic Burst combo is more DPS, but it's much harder to do.
Yeah, I was also
There's
wondering,
very
like,
few
because it's technically adding animations, if it would slow the combo down.
No, the DPS actually goes higher. It's just way more difficult.
Interesting.
And luckily, Marlborough has a lot of pretty slow attacks, so we can get some dodges here, which will allow us to counter and hit a little bit harder on the stagger. So this kind of works like Remake. There, obviously, stagger also exists in 15 and some of the other games, but you basically deplete the bar in this game, and once you get halfway, the enemy like stops its attack, so you can use it to stop a really dangerous attack that maybe you have issues with or it's going to take a lot of time. But if you take too long, the enemy will be able to block and not get the pseudo stagger halfway through. But basically, we're just kind of looking for the highest DPS once we get them staggered, and then follow up with our Eikon attacks. In the story mode, we just need to throw out the Eikon attacks when we see a stagger at the very end to get the max damage, because we're trying to get that multiplier up. But luckily, we have some really cool like cutscenes here. They do take a while, but they give us a free stagger. So we get like 2 free staggers on Marlborough here. So really all we're focusing on is damage rather than stagger values. Not sure about the numbers with this game, but I know Remake, each attack kind of has its own damage number and stagger value, so who knows at this point.
We also have this very cool mechanic, which I like, even though I'm not the biggest fan of QuickTime events, especially coming from a game where failing them is actually faster. But this is really cool. 7 had a few things like this, correct? If I'm remembering correctly.
I don't believe so in Remake. I can't really think of any.
I might be confusing the
fights end up like QTEs once you get to the top end.
Yeah,
to be fair,
I'm that's what I'm thinking about, like being able to almost skip the helicopter on the rooftop.
Yeah, if you chain inputs properly, like in the PS4 version, you can even stagger Dark Star during the transition.
Yeah,
there's a lot of cool stuff, but like. When you actually get enough A to B, you end up chaining a lot of special moves back to back.
Yep.
Since I'm a hard mode speedrunner, I'm like the only thing I'm good at. And it basically is QTs, yeah. But in normal gameplay, this is what we have.
So have you tested failing any of these, as easy as they are to hit as they are? Like,
failing them, unfortunately, is slow, and you don't get the free extra damage.
Yeah.
So
because what we're looking for is... Yeah, we're looking for the free stagger, boss sits still, plus we get to up the multiplier, so our damages do more and more incrementally. So failing them gets us slapped in the face, we lose quite a bit of HP, and we don't get the free down on the boss. This, I cannot parry this.
My timing is so weird for it.
I just back up and let it go. I'm like, nah, I'm not. The tentacles from top or sides I can do, bad breath I can do, but that one... Even Wild Rush, I get run over most of the time. There is an interesting There's actually an interesting interaction. The auto dodge ring, the one that slows time, you can actually use to parry, counter bad breath, and then dash back into it and parry back out. So there might be some applications outside of it just being a training wheel. Hopefully, we get some more powerful accessories at the end of the game, so we have other things to equip. So there's not much drama about it. Some people don't like it. Some people are kind of indifferent to it. But we'll see when the full game comes out.
Yep. Hey, whatever works, works. There's a reason why there's an any % category, which is any means necessary. Or at least that's how I like to look at the kind of vernacular.
Well, the really cool thing about it is it lets like more casual players and even people that are struggling, it'll just basically lower this or raise up the skill floor a little bit, but it shouldn't be a big top end thing.
Yeah.
Anyway.
I got a nice parry lunge, so it doesn't have to be specifically an attack. It's more of like a timing window, which is nice because it gives you options. You don't have to kind of sit and wait for an attack. You can come to it if you would so choose. But now we get another QTE. This one's for evasion. I opened the fight. It was kind of very small, but I actually opened the fight with a precision dodge into counter, and that's kind of what the game is like giving you a heads up on, like, hey, by the way, you can counter and you can time your dodge pretty nice.
So does opening wing actually offer more DPS than finishing with wing on a stagger?
That is something I will have to test.
I think it would work the other way because you'd want the stagger multiplier higher because it's something we look for in Remake too, where like we try and get that number as high as possible and then just spam either magical weaknesses or like high damaging attacks like limits. Wody just said you can't fail the first two. Apparently, it just repeats them over and over again. What a game!
Oh,
that's
unfortunate. I was going for it. There we go.
So yeah, at least we had a low enough HP that we could just slay. Because if we were looking for a stagger there, the game would have stopped us with Wild Rage.
Yep. I was trying to get that in because I knew that it was in one hit range. But yes, that's Morble.
Morble. I was like, I looked at that and I'm like, am I like, hold on, let me get my reading glasses out. Morble, what? Yeah, there's like one instance like that where like there's a timer in Remake, and in the first chapter it will kill you, but every other place there's a timer, it just goes to 0 and doesn't kill you. It's kind of funny when you wait for him.
Mm-hmm.
So just out of curiosity, how many times have you each played through the demo at this point? Just you give a rough guess.
Like 10 hours, so probably at least 5 or 6 times minimum. Probably more than that.
I think I'm in the 20s. I spent a lot of time practicing Gigas, Marbrol, and Dragoon specifically, and did about 5 run-throughs, I think, and I'm like at a 30:08. A lot of people are sub 30. Eikon Challenge is really fun, though. I haven't given that as much time as I wish, but I did a couple today, and I think I got around a 20-something or other, which is pretty decent for only a few attempts. That's the one thing, in terms of learning, you want to like, this is the difference between the story demo and the Eikon Challenge. Eikon Challenge, you can't save. Here you can. So like if you save before the Gigas fight and then just do it over and over again, you can get a lot better feel of how it works rather than just running through it over and over and then fighting it once.
So much faster.
Oh gosh, yes. That's why the Eikon Challenge is explored, but not perfectly because we don't have the saves. So we just have to like go back to the same spot over and over again. That's the one downside is we don't have like a retry option like Remake has. And bosses, when you die to them, will reset during certain phases. So you can't just practice the whole boss by dying. You can only practice certain phases. It's very frustrating, but it's understandable as it's supposed to be kind of a playground. And they don't really expect you to, they don't want you to struggle too much with the part that's supposed to be super fun.
Another reason why I enjoy games when they do come to PC is for the most part, you can
practice.
Yeah, you can swap save files. Those that don't know, PS4 and PS5 save files are encrypted, so you can't just like send them to your homie.
So PS5 is the worst one. PS4 you can actually like. I have a ring of saves for my Remake. Unfortunately, the PS5 doesn't let us download stuff to USB, so it's good luck. I hope you enjoy the amount of save files, and this game has 5, so practicing is going to be pretty rough.
At least the demo. I'm not sure if hopefully we'll get more.
I could hope.
One can always.
A lot of people were saying like we have 2 and 3 saves from this game and that game, and Remake has 10, and I'm like, wow, I took it for granted. Remake is actually really generous with a lot of the interactions. So I like
12 gives you 99.
So you could probably create new profiles on the PS5 to have new saves.
Wody says it's got 50. 50 should be quite
50. Oh, yeah, 50's more than enough. Let's go. Wody's got the strong information.
As it turns out, no, this is like Dark Souls 2 where there's 47 bosses.
Yeah. So one of the things that's like early on, if you're having a lot of trouble being able to just kind of sit down and practice something, if you're taking it somewhat serious, it makes your life a lot easier. And as Kios was saying, testing stuff like, for me, I thought the cleave ability to like downward thrust would not be so great, but now that I'm hearing about it, it's like that might actually be pretty good on Marlboro.
Yeah, just because of its size, you get at least 5 hits. You can do 2 full aerial combos, which versus a ground combo does like an extra 12% damage. It's not a bad little stack.
The only downside of like inverting the combo, like I said, with a wing, is you might miss the timing and they'll get out of stagger and then your damage get nothing.
Yep.
So it's on a risk reward.
This is I mean, unless you're familiar with speedrunners and like a lot of the things we do, this is a lot of the thankless work, and this is a lot of what goes into making those super impressive world record my god devs react to. This is the stuff where we'll spend weeks and months and sometimes years working on finding the most optimal combination, so we can get those times down. And this is the side that not a lot of people, like, just on the surface layer, like, oh yeah, you just speedrun it, you just go fast. Like, we have to put all these pieces together to start to even think about going fast. I mean,
I'll say, like, as an example, it's been on the channel a lot, but Kingdom Hearts 2 has had multiple reroutes for different things that become optimal over time in fights based on what's newly known at the time. There was a time period in Kingdom Hearts 2 where, like, Stitch was the best thing you could be doing in some fights, and now I think Stitch is almost completely out of Kingdom Hearts 2 speedruns.
Yeah.
Like another good example is like Final Fantasy VII for PlayStation. Like the skips that they have found are like skipping Cosmo Canyon, skipping Nibelheim Flashback, skipping directly to Wall Market as soon as you get back from the first reactor. Not only does it save a bunch of time, but like figuring out how it works after you miss out on those levels, those items, that money, just all that stuff takes a huge amount of work. It's not even just the person that finds the skip. It's everybody that makes it so that the skip doesn't make the game unplayable now.
Yep. And I mean, that's another interesting thing to talk about, especially with what myself, D-Wins, and Chitose did with 15, is we found a way to basically go from the first chapter all the way to the end of the game in under an hour. But how we get there, and just because we can do it, doesn't mean at first that it's going to be faster, because you're skipping a lot of money, or you're skipping a lot of ability points or equipment. And
final boss level 1, let's go. Wait, this isn't how that works. Crit it's basically crit mode level 1.
Yeah, sometimes you can get there, but is skipping a 5-minute segment here might not be faster, because, well, now congratulations, we're missing a very important piece of equipment, and the boss fight is now 6 minutes longer. So at the end, it's not.
So just to clear it up for someone popped into the chat, is this an no-cut skip run? No, this is just basically the first time through. We're just going to be sort of talking about what we do to discover things and sort of
routing and tech,
and then we're going to be doing an actual speed run after the break.
Yep.
And we're just kind of using the cutscenes as a bit of a buffer to kind of talk about things.
So we can actually talk and entertain the crowd.
Yeah. Kind of treat it as a little podcast segment, if you will.
Yeah.
Most of the biggest speedrun tech that I've at least encountered is 99% of the time just pure accident or mistake, or it's
sometimes you hit the wrong button and you're like, wait, what? This saves time? How did I can do that? I guess we're doing that.
Admittedly, there are some very good glitch hunters that will intentionally go out of their way to find things as well.
Yep.
Yeah.
I know, like some of the bigger names. There's people like Sockfolder. I think of someone like Darkspine Sonic and 3D platformers. They've talked about different techniques they've used. Where I know DSS has talked where, like, one of his favorite techniques to try to find things is, if I do 2 things at the same time, how does the game react?
Yep, I love doing that, especially with RPGs. Trying to force cutscenes on top of each other or menus on top of each other, generally with most games, leads to very interesting side effects.
Yeah, what you were talking about before about the how quickly you do a thing and how it changes. All I could hear in my head was Jeff Goldblum from Jurassic Park talking about scientists being so occupied with whether they could do something. They didn't stop to worry about whether they should do something.
Yep. Just because we can doesn't always mean it's the fastest, which is, again, a lot of time goes into literally timing it out. Is this worth it? What are the positives? What are the negatives?
It's always funny hearing Kirby Master talk about Fire Emblem. Fire Emblem is like notorious for this, where he'll find a strat that'll save 1 minute, but because it'll cause the entire rest of the game to get rerouted after that minute, he doesn't know if that minute actually translates into a minute of time save or even time lost, just given that because of the way the run works, everything you do cascades. There's a very tangible butterfly effect in RPGs especially. It's not so much there, in say like a platformer. If you skip a platformer, you're not really like affecting the game.
Yeah, Wade here is like sometimes useful and sometimes useless. Just kind of throw out a fireball and hope he finishes him off.
At least he's handsome.
That is indeed true. He's a little bit more effective in the later fights where we only have like one enemy who just fire a gun, go, "You can do it, Wade!" and cheer him on. Yeah, so this is one of the routing things we just kind of like, is there something down here?
Yep.
Bummer.
The only items I've found that are pretty handy, again, I don't know if it actually is with the Eikon challenge. There are a few accessories we pick up that help our Eikon.
DPS.
All right,
Yeah.
we can do it.
There you go, Wade. Yeah, I
boy.
could see him winding up. I knew he was got. If he winds up for that attack, he should one shot after a fire guy.
Yeah, exactly. Alec is like that. Hey, once you find like a nice time save, most of the time it's not exactly that much because you have to kind of alter your route. Yeah, 45-second time save. Realistically, all said and done, it's 5 seconds.
Yeah.
But hey, sometimes that really matters.
Or sometimes that 45-second time save there leads you to find something else and you save even more time. That happens
One of the-
times as well.
One of those things too is it might like, oh well, getting this item that resists fire is like a minute out of the way, and if it's late in the run and you could get rolled by a final boss, like it saves you the whole run. So it's one of those things where it's like, do I want to like not have to worry about this boss fight? So unfortunately, we don't really, or fortunately rather, we don't have to worry about that with the demo. It's so short. Like some of the movement tech lunge is probably like arguably not worth it. It may not even be worth it to grab abilities besides stomp maybe, but since we're in there, we might as well grab lunge.
Yep.
But there's still no like, well, this is the best move. The only two we've kind of like settled on is stomp for the air combos and lunge. Me personally, go ahead.
I was just gonna say like what you mentioned about while we're in the menu.
Yeah.
My first speedrun was Final Fantasy 12 on PS2, which is, little did I know, probably one of the most daunting that you can attempt to pick up and learn as a speedrun. But a lot of the optimization of that game really was trying to open the menu as little as possible, trying to go just a little bit longer so we can combine two menus, or can we possibly skip menuing? Because anytime you're in the menu, unless it's a very glitched run, you're not moving. You're just burning time.
Yep. It's one of the things we try to do a lot with hard mode since we have access to everything. How far can we go without changing our equipment? And then if we're going to do it, we're doing it all at once. Even sometimes we don't even change our shortcuts and we just roll with what we have and only do a slight augment if we absolutely have to, because it just saves a bunch of time. Luckily with this game, it seems to be like less where we have to like choose our shortcuts. At least right now. It looks like once we get more icons, we'll probably have to do more shortcut and like ability editing. But since this is so incredibly short, it's usually like, well, we're good to go. Let's do it.
Yeah, I was looking at some of the icon, like with the icon challenge specifically. There are some really, really potentially cool abilities that are not the default ability.
I wanted to like mess with them more, but I see most of the people just using the defaults right now. Like the Titan one where it's just rapid fire, Jojo, Muda, 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 I really like. So we do have enough AP here to probably master out an ability if we really want to. Personally, I master Burning Blade. I find that it makes the Dragoon a little bit easier, but everybody kind of has their own routing choices. So let's see what Kios has cooked up for us.
I normally don't even honestly bother, just because we can do that.
It depends. Like every runner will have their own preference, right? Somebody was like, "Oh yeah, Burning Blade makes it easier," and it does. But who knows? Maybe.
I'll try it out because thankfully you can kind of unlearn abilities here. What ability don't I?
Burning Blade, I think, is right next to Lunge.
Yep. I don't have enough to master it.
I think it's because you pointed it at down thrust, most likely. Because I go Stomp, Lunge, and Mastered Burning. But if you're still going to use down thrust, don't worry about it.
Yeah.
The trick with Burning Blade is you have to remember to hold down on it, so it's not something you kind of like just learn in one attempt.
Bob knew what was coming and just left. Haptic feedback! Yay! Got to sell those $70 controllers somewhere.
All that crap. So one of the things I do here is since the general has the most HP, I nooch up to him and smack him with a wing, and then deal with the rest of the grunts.
I've been getting pretty consistent with. Is it Wade that's with us currently?
No, it's the captain, whoever's in charge of the army.
So I just open with a lunge and then take out the wizard boy over here because he's gonna create problems. And normally, I can take this guy as well. My jump timing was a little off.
You know what? Probably if I used jump combos, it would be a lot easier because my damage wouldn't be so trash.
I'll just pop those two at the same time. So nothing ventured, nothing gained.
Yeah, that's not a bad idea. I just figured that if I take care of the general, the other guy can take care of a normal enemy, and then I'll take care of the mage in the other one. Worst comes to worst, I get tagged in the back by a spell, and I look a little bit silly.
Hi, Kane.
Dragon. Yeah.
All right.
A little bit more silver than I remember, but hey, let's do it.
May I have this done?
Nice dodge. Followed up by. To be honest, this is more or less how it looks for me too. I get slapped around. This is even harder in air because you kind of put yourself at risk of being. You can dodge, but you can't actually like counter in the air, so you put yourself in kind of a rough spot. But yeah, once again, we take advantage of that like half stagger. But yeah, like I usually charge the blade and then go for the precision counter. It works pretty well because he spends a lot of time like waiting to jump, and then you can charge it while he's jumping down on you too. But obviously, it depends on how it works out in the full game. Because if it just is good for this boss, it might not be worth getting. Luckily, there's a like skill reset, so you can just reset all your skills and then quickly relearn what you want early on. It may not be worth doing, but who knows? The only problem is Dragoon's so small, it's really hard to get the stomp air combos and not mess with them. Game's a little bit wonky and kind of like wanders around in the air sometimes. The cool thing about these is once you know where the which one's a dodge and which one's an attack, you can just mash the button and be ahead of the game, and it'll instantly happen.
You can get a fourth combo or a fourth hit there before you get on the ground, which is kind of what I've been doing because, like you mentioned, the dodge is really tough.
It probably makes sense to just do regular air combos because I've been trying to do the stomp version. It's just not worth. And the timing for these jumps is slightly different. Like I count to 3 for the first one and 2 for the second one, and sometimes I still get owned.
I was a little late on getting the parry, but oh well. This would be a double jump.
Yeah, it's early on in the game's life cycle, so I wouldn't expect anybody to be perfect. It's very hard to get used to the timing for this because we're learning all of the attacks at once. So this kind of just shows that, like, no matter the quality of the runner, it doesn't make it easy, right? Some people make the game look easy like 2 years. Like a lot of people are like, oh, you're a pro in Remake, and I'm a freaking scrub everywhere else. So it takes a while to get there. So don't be
Kios, you're really good at Final Fantasy 15. Yes,
Yep.
I've spent literally 4,000 hours in the game. If you want to know how much that is, there
Too
are
many.
521,600 minutes in a year. Do the math on that one.
Yeah, I'm up
Spent
to like
almost a full year nonstop playing a video game. So yeah,
Right.
it should hopefully be good.
I
I'm
would
about
like
up to
to say that we
2100.
should. If you do start singing the Rent soundtrack, we will get DMCA. So please don't.
Oh, I won't. That's fine. I wouldn't do a disservice to a wonderful theatrical performance like that.
So this is mostly it for like the actual gameplay. Now we have a nice little auto scroller where we hold triangle, and that's about it.
Try and get it done as quickly as possible.
Yeah, there was a lot of misinformation early on. People thought mashing was faster. Just hold triangle. Don't worry about it. Their DPS
It's more
is insane.
important to just follow the target than how much you hit it, to be honest.
To be honest, I don't even know if mashing actually gets you more fireballs, but I'd have to like sit there and
we
pixel-analyze it.
can test. I will hold the button. Looks pretty okay. And, well, man, it doesn't look like any honest difference.
The problem is too is there's an awakening later where he starts like firing more per, so maybe it does later on, but really all we're trying to do is just get as much DPS down the pipe as possible because we have to wait for Hellfire to finish this up. So all we really are aiming for is to kill him as fast as Hellfire starts, and or kill him before Hellfire, which will cause you to fail, reset you back to a checkpoint, and reset Ifrit's HP to a certain value. So it's impossible to like get in a soft lock situation, but you do lose time to it.
Yep.
Since it resets you, if you're really feeling like you need to take a bathroom break, you could just take the L here and then come back.
Mm-hmm.
But there's probably better places to do it, honestly. Yeah, there's HP gate when he's near dead. Yeah, so a lot of these bosses, we didn't really go over it, but Marlboro like did his like special attacks that ended up getting countered at certain HP gates. Same thing with the Dragoon. When the Dragoon jumped back on the top of the building, that was a HP gate. So once, I think it's 33%, something like that, the Dragoon will hop back on top of the building, and then you'll get the insta-stagger right after it. So a lot of the routing is finding those free staggers and not like going all in until they're up so that you can min-max your damage.
Yep. Much
So it's
the
a lot of-
same thing with like 7R as well as Stranger of Paradise, which if anyone hasn't played is I'd recommend it because you can probably grab it on sale, and it's it's a good honestly it's a good intro. It's like a base version of the combat in this.
Yeah, I totally got wrecked in Strangers of Paradise. I really want to pick it up, but now this has got my attention for sure.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah,
I can
unfortunately,
wholeheartedly recommend Stranger of Paradise as well. No bias whatsoever.
Yeah.
when you were running it last year, I wanted to get you to teach me some of it, but you just were not available, unfortunately. So it's like, I guess it's not going to happen.
Yeah, I was going to say Rel, who has done tremendous things with Stranger of Paradise, is also joining us on the hunt with FF16. So it's really interesting to see the amount of like who has shown up in the Discord. Wodie's been in chat here. Wodie also from the 7R community. Just like people from all sorts of backgrounds kind of being able to really help and contribute so far with the learning of this.
Yeah, because we all think about different things first. Like, my mindset was less about combat optimization. It's like, what can we do with this awful auto scroller? What are the limits? Can we just ignore it like the first one? Oh, it sets us back to a certain point. And one of the things I haven't tested yet, which I would really like to, is can we just ignore it for a couple of seconds and come back and still do enough DPS? And it's very likely that that's the case. I just haven't had enough time or wherewithal to test it because I've been trying to learn combo basics. The aerial combos are a little bit stickier than you might think, and it takes a little bit of time.
Yeah, there's definitely a rhythm to it for sure.
It looks like Clive is wearing a bit of Roxas pants for sure.
Yep. Every once in a while, he'll jump very not high.
So yeah, and my first basically blind speedruns were this were 30s, the high 30s, 35, 36, even with the ring. So I wouldn't worry about it too much. I've only gotten it down to a 30 without the ring, and I'm talking about the evasion ring. So definitely don't worry about comparing to other people. Just have fun with the game. That's
Exactly.
the biggest part of speedrunning, to be honest.
I've honestly said it probably hundreds of times, and it's something that I personally needed to suffer through and learn on my own. If you want to see what speedrunning doesn't look like, take a look at any of my old Nier Automata speedrun VODs if they still exist, and just look at how miserable and angry and just frustrated that I am with it. Speedrunning should be fun. I mean, yeah, there are people out there who want to have the best time, are proud of having the best time, and like that's cool. Whatever motivation you have, but if you're not having fun, you probably shouldn't be doing it. You're just gonna make life miserable.
Yeah, I'm a big part of that because I get very salty with my runs, and it's one of those things you need to learn. And it's like, if the earlier runs, I was way less salty because I was like, what a stupid mistake. And now it's like, okay, I'm trying to get that like sub 430, and I'm like, I hate this. You gotta find that razor's edge, right?
And I think the biggest thing for me was just learning to like, I made a mistake that sucks.
Let it go.
Just let it go, move on. Like a lot of these runs, like one of the things I've started using, which helps my logical brain, is with live splits, there's a function where, I should probably split this because of like incredibly horrific language and
the timer also ends like when the vanish. So we're like about an hour. We did kind of chill out a little bit and talk about things. So don't, to be honest, luckily it's just kind of like getting the cutscene skip, but anything like in the 30s is fine. I wouldn't like worry about competing too much. More so, it's
Live
just building
Splits has a cool feature in it called Best Possible Time, and one of the things, really, for me, I actually use it as more of a positive force because I know that a lot of times the best possible time is not entirely possible because of how certain strategies work. But it's nice to see, like, man, I coughed up 20 seconds there, but like, it's a 4-hour run. Like, realistically, I can still PB by 5 minutes. Like,
that's a really good way to look at
I
it,
made a mistake early, but like, there's still room for wiggle.
Yeah, everybody kind of will have their own way. Some people don't like splits because it rubs them the wrong way, which is who I am. Like, I see red and I'm like, Argh. Some people like don't like having splits because Chad will be like, run's dead. And it's like, nah, dog, I got like 5 minutes to save in the end game. Calm down. And then some people like you have a more positive look at it. And it's like, well, I lost 20 seconds here, but I still have plenty to save.
I mean, I had a run with 15 last night. I was almost a minute down with 7 minutes left in the run. And then next split, I was only 30 seconds behind with about 3.5 minutes left in the run. With, if I had played perfectly, almost a minute left to save still. Didn't PB, but like just knowing like it's still there, like a less than an hour run with 5 minutes left on the timer, I could still PB by 30-40 seconds, as opposed to seeing, I'm 30 seconds behind with 5 minutes left. There's no way this is going to happen.
Yeah. It's all about like perspective, and that's probably the best perspective if you can kind of get your mind into that. Like, yeah, I lost time, but I can still save more. So that's basically it for the story demo. So we can do a speedrun of story, and we can kind of go through Eikon challenge. What would you guys like to do? Cool.
I would like to take the prescribed break to talk about things like we were supposed to do.
Sorry about that.
Yeah, just if I need to start skipping cutscenes, just poke me through.
No, the idea was after this, we were supposed to take a break, go back to like the podcast screen, talk a bit, chat with the chat, answer some questions, talk about registration, and then come back for the speed run. But it seems like none of that nonsense in the middle. Let's just do
no. This is very important. Please go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead. I'm gonna get up and stretch.
Okay, chat, how are you? How's chat doing today?
Chat seems to be enjoying it, for sure. Thanks for showing up, by the way. I really appreciate it. I think all of us do.
184 of you in the chat there. Chat is hungry. And chat should go get a snack. We're not going nowhere.
Yeah, I got
Not
mine
for a little while,
beforehand.
anyway.
I'm ready.
So we will also, I don't know if anybody knows this, we have been putting all the VODs for these streams up on YouTube as well. And a lot of people like checking there. And they do have, so if you like watching on YouTube better later on, this will all be available there as well. So don't feel like you're missing out if you got to go step away for a bit.
Yep. Been a very enjoyable experience for sure.
So, how many of you are looking forward to Limit Break next month?
That's really
Oh,
just
I'm
next month.
excited.
Isn't
Next
it?
month,
Wow.
yeah.
Jeez.
I'm very excited
Feels
to
like
watch.
It starts in literally like, yeah, we just started 2 days ago, a month from now, 16th to the 22nd.
I feel like
yeah,
I fell into a black hole.
yeah, because I'm doing all the volunteer stuff at the moment. I'm just sitting there going like, where did Tuesday go? Like,
Yeah.
Don't even get me started. My week last week was so busy with prep and everything else.
I'm surprised we were managing to get everything done. It's very nice though.
I mean, I'm not surprised, but it just definitely feels like time is on fast forward, you know?
Yeah.
I
have the least to do, and I'm still like, what? Am I supposed to do something now? What? I can only imagine what it's like to actually have like everything in the world to do with the event. Appreciate it.
I'm excited. It's a great schedule too. Like it really is. It should be a lot of
fantastic
fun.
schedule.
Some
If you haven't looked at the schedule yet, you really should. There's some absolutely amazing games on there. There's also, if you're interested, going to the YouTube channel. There's like the schedule review show. That,
Yeah,
DK
done by my
and
good
Spike
friends Ghost Kumo and Spike Vegeta, with a guest appearance by High Spirits as well.
It was a fantastic show. I really enjoyed that one too.
I wish I could have been there for that so bad. I was a little busy playing some card games.
Yeah. Having a life outside of Limit Break. How very dare you, sir?
How dare thee?
Hey, Kios is back.
Yeah, I am here. Yeah, it is also a Father's Day.
Yeah, it is Father's
Sunday.
Day.
It is.
Happy birthday.
do something about that.
Happy Father's Day to all the fathers out there. Man.
So one more time again, also, this is the last day to register
Yeah.
to attend Limit Break.
Yep.
So if you have not done that yet and you are planning to attend, go do that.
Yeah, you'll be you'll be asked to make a profile. Log into your profile. You can sign up from there. There's like a link you can click that says register to attend Limit Break 2023. It will take you through. You'll pay for your registration, which is $70 this year, and you'll provide all the information that we will need, and you'll be ready to go.
I would love to, but I was in Japan and I have used all of my vacation time.
Let's have my
Must be
honeymoon
nice.
2 years late. 3 years late? Wow.
3 years late. That was scheduled
Wow.
for May 2019.
Damn.
It
Why did it take so long, man? It's like there's been anything happening.
Yeah, right. You know, it's just listen. Like I couldn't get my act together. You
Yeah,
know how
just-
it is.
Couldn't decide where to go.
Yeah, and like I was like planes. Planes aren't real.
Yeah.
I was very worried that the Earth being flat, that we might fall off the edge because Japan is at the edge of the map.
It's true. It's true.
Just
I'm
be
not a
washed
flat
out
earther.
the
I
edge
just
of
needed to
the,
make a joke.
the galaxy. It's like
Yeah.
it's gonna get pulled out into the black hole of time.
I mean, if you look at it from a certain point of view, the Earth is flat.
Yeah, on a map.
No. I meant like regularly. I mean, it's like 70% water and none of it is carbonated, so technically it's flat.
Yeah, it's flat. Yeah, it would. There's a lot of calcium carbide though.
Love it.
Boo these men. Boo all of them.
I'm just
Anyway,
rolling with the
Kios,
punches.
before I get kicked off the
Ash doesn't
channel,
come
it's been
across
nice to
on
meet you.
the stream, but our tech lead had just went through and said, "No, this is not allowed. Get off of the stream now."
You've been overruled. Be quiet.
Thank- thanks to
Yeah.
Yep,
Paul and
sounds
Sue
good.
for the raid.
Great.
Just a reminder once again before we jump back into an actual factual speed run. This is the last day to register. Please do so. We would love to see you in Salt Lake City in Utah. If you can't, that's fine. We'll be streaming here on the Limit Break channel 16th through the 22nd with all kinds of very, 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 very cool games. Not sure if they're very enough there. So, but yeah. Yeah, we've also got prize submissions closing up soon. Gould, do you want to say anything about that?
Yeah, so as always, we're going to be benefiting a fantastic charity in NAMI, the National Alliance on Mental Illness.
Yep.
Always a fantastic charity. We're very grateful to be working with them, and they do so much great work. But if you're wondering, hey, the registration for volunteer work just closed, how can I help? Well, prizes tend to be one of the best ways that we see donations. We've had some fantastic prizes. Last year we had, my personal favorite was someone made like a full replica of like the Door to Darkness in Kingdom Hearts out of like papercraft. It was super, super cool. We had that. We've had stuff like prize packages sent from Atlas that we had for Nocturne last year, full-on PS5s, different games and things that were in the actual event. Just a awesome smorgasbord of just.
There was Jay Hobbs, of course.
Yes, the giant pip-up that was on stream the entire event was a donation prize. Just all of these help to go to really make the show, and they really do help with raising the donation totals at the end of the day. So, it might seem like something small to you. Maybe it's just a copy of the game, or you go to Walmart and see, oh hey, they're having a sale on Pokemon cards, and there's a Pokemon run in the event. Whatever it is, I love to see them send in through the prize submission form, which I can pull up and post as soon as.
I gave away like 6 hours of a D&D game last year.
That's
which was really
we've had some very unique prizes. Bob had one of the coolest ones, which was the he ran a D&D game for that.
Yep.
And yeah, just like whatever ends up being, I love to see it. And yeah, I'm in charge of prizes personally. That's my role within Limit Break is prizes and the interview team. So
remind me, because I can fire up the 3D printer, which means there might be some cool props I could make or.
We'll have a conversation.
Yeah,
we'll talk in a little bit.
The other thing to mention is hotels. There is a booking link through after you've registered. There will be a booking link so you can book your hotel rooms. For those of you that are already registered and are looking for roommates, head over to the Discord. In the attendees channel, there is a pin with a spreadsheet for people who are looking for roommates and how to contact people. We strongly encourage that you take care of that. So, just got 2609 twice in the story part. Heard this was happening, figured I'd drop by properly. Great job, Sue.
Excellent.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah,
Nice.
Speaking of, why don't we see what we can get Kios to get in a bit of a run today?
I've been getting consistent like 29-30 area with action, so
right.
I've been pretty happy with that.
All right,
All right,
and we'll count you in.
I think we've already started, right?
All right, well, let's go then.
Yeah, let's go.
The count-in is
The count-in is as of
about
2
1,
seconds ago. Yeah.
-2.
Yeah.
We'll just add 5 seconds.
We'll edit it in post.
No.
We'll retime
Look,
it when we submit it.
if we don't start the timer, we can get a world record on stream.
Woo! I
Let's
don't
go.
even know who has that.
We can call it the RPG Limit Break pre-show percent, and it's the only one that's ever done of it, so it's definitely a world record.
It's a 1 of 1.
Automatically
Console
world record.
explodes.
Yeah. Mods? We don't need mods to approve nothing. Get out of here. Staff signed off on this. It's definitely a world record. That's how that works.
What does my friend Benjamin Franklin have to say about the validity of my run?
Yeah.
My friend Franklin Abraham in Washington.
An Abraham Washington. Speaking of people I spent a lot of time working with, there is the Canadian legend D Wins.
There's so many people in the community and coming back from like all different angles. I've ran into a lot of them from Remake, and I'm seeing a lot of repeat names of very talented runners. So it's really interesting getting in on the ground floor of stuff like this and
seeing Cosmic back as well, the famed DMC runner. His insights with a lot of action-based games is always really, really handy to me. He's been a really cool dude to me, and it's been nice to see him like having something to excite him again.
Yeah, for anybody that's not in the know, the combat designer of Final Fantasy 16 used to work at Capcom on the Devil May Cry games.
I'm sure Platinum didn't have anything to do with all this stuff either. So it seems like there was 3 different studios. So like we said before, there's really nothing we can do here. We can interact it or just throw the controller down. Might as well, though.
I'm going to check in on a Formula 1 race while I wait.
Yeah, pretty much. This is one of those games where you reset, and then you go take a bathroom break, then come back and actually play.
Don't worry, they're still going fast. It's fine.
Yep.
Can we tell Ifrit to hurry
Vinny's
up?
back? The legend is Vinny. I love Vinny. It's so good to see him back.
Close to War, yeah, he's another one. I actually watched like any percent, and I saw Close to War playing, and I'm like, no, I'm not doing any percent remake. Mm-mm.
Yeah,
That
Vinny
guy
is one of those
scary.
people that is just so good at what he does.
I could tell even in like chapter 2, where there's like almost no options.
Mhm.
Just watching Close to War's play was just like, what? Okay, I'm getting in a different category. I can't compete with this guy.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to very closely look at his run because that's a full minute and a half faster. So there's definitely some great optimization. But that's kind of what Close to War has been known for, is just taking games and just absurdly optimizing them and then forcing reroutes and times dropping.
Yeah, one of the things, like, I am being a little facetious about it. You looking at one runner and being like, I don't want to compete with that person is not a good mindset. I'm just kind of saying it a little more jokingly.
Yeah.
If one person optimizes it, you don't have to do the same thing. Play the game the way that's like interesting and fun to you. There's been a lot of RPGs where like, oh well, Magic Route's better. Like I think with one of the not Dragon Quest, but Breath of Fire. Magic Route's the best route, but there was a lot of people that kind of stuck with physical route because it was more interesting to them. So there's no reason you have to follow the same path as somebody else.
I mean, and that's why multiple categories exist too. Like
Yes.
I ran 12 the Zodiac Age, and there's any percent, which is what I enjoy, which is you do a bunch of RNG manipulation to get an invisible bow that does absurd damage and gives you 75%
I remember that now that you mention it.
But there are other people that don't do that. They instead use a different weapon, which causes confuse on hit, or there's a no manipulation route, which is just ends up playing more like the PS2 version with skills and magic. So just because it's not the fastest doesn't mean it's the best, or you can't or shouldn't do it.
Yeah, I spent probably like a good year and a half just doing my own thing and getting some feedback from other runners in hard mode, and I steadily maintained like a second place time, which is not important. But the thing is that you can do your own thing and still be successful. Is what I'm trying to get at, rather. and time and placement isn't important. Like we said earlier, having fun is far more important when you're doing a speed run.
There's
I've always
another
heard it
name.
described as like the best way to think about a speedrun is it gives you kind of the ability to replay some of your favorite games over and over again with like no reason to do so.
That was very much my early thing, because Mega Man X2, X3, X, were like some of my favorite games, but I had no reason to replay them because they're fairly simple and straightforward. But with a speedrun, it's like, well, now it's super friggin' hard.
Yeah, Wody dropping another name that I've not physically, but done battle with Ranmaru, who's a tremendous 15 runner. I spent many months chasing that man down.
I'm learning a lot of new names, and it's very nice.
Mhm.
With Remake, I came in super late because I didn't have the disc on hand, so it's like took me a month to play through. That's the one nice thing about the demo is like I don't want spoilers. There's like an hour worth of gameplay. What spoilers? Actually, finally going to get into some actual gameplay here rather than hot footing it around the castle.
Yep. Nah, when I get the chance, I'm gonna definitely have to take a look at what Ranmaru and Vinny are up to. And
I do
that's
also
the fun thing. Like I in no way, shape, or form have been like, yeah, what I'm doing is the most optimal. Like this is so new, and we don't even have the full game yet. A lot of this is just testing and figuring out, like, hey, how is this gonna feel? What has potential? Like, what should I invest my time into investigating further, as opposed to, well, this works for me right now. This is the fastest thing ever. I am inflexible.
Especially for, with all due respect, it is just the demo. A lot of the purpose of people exploring this is trying to transfer what we learn to the game as a whole as well. There's a very real chance that some stuff in the demo doesn't function in the full game, or there's a reason to not do it in the full game. We don't really know yet. So having, a knowledge and a decent breadth of what things look like could actually be more valuable than just, here's the perfect demo speedrun, it'll never get better anyway.
Yeah, because part of the early game was like, oh, well, lunge is good movement tech, but it's probably not worth it. But finding that stomp is pretty good and burning blade is pretty good makes it worth going in there. And we did a little trick here that we kind of mentioned earlier, but when you open the menu, and this really will only apply to demo percent, it'll start you in your gear menu, but if you press R2 twice, it'll skip straight over to the ability menu, skipping a tutorial prompt where it's explaining what happens in that specific menu. In the main game, you're going to go through all the menus, so there's really no time save there, assuming you don't have to go into those other menus throughout the course of the game.
To answer the Tom Dude's question, is it linear like 13? I'm not sure we have enough evidence upon which to base that yet, as this is only like a small fractional demo at the beginning.
It's a demo, so it is linear, but I would imagine the main game is not. They said it's going to be more open world. Like 7 Remake, yeah, it's more linear. This doesn't appear to be so, but we'll have to see in 4 days, and it'll probably take 5 or 6 outside of the people that just Gatling gun through the game, which I think is... Also, if you're planning on speedrunning this, don't worry about Gatling gunning through the game.
Yeah.
The leaderboard is frozen for 2 weeks. You have plenty of time to mess with the demo and enjoy it, and then
also,
actually
nobody
enjoy the story.
Like the, definitely like try to enjoy the game before you like worry too much about speedrunning it. I'm sure that even y'all's first playthrough, y'all did not like you might like just when you speedrun, you kind of get into a mental habit of just like naturally like saying, oh, this is quick and this feels really good. But even there, speedrunners don't just like speedrun and nothing else. We do enjoy the story and
the amount of like games that I see like on day one where it's like world record attempts, and I'm like, just enjoy the game for a while.
Absolutely not. No. Yeah, I sat through every single cutscene. I've actually sat through each of them twice because I played it with somebody else in my family. So sit through the game, enjoy the story, and then speedrun the game. Because one of the things I find is you may initially think, oh, I want to speedrun the game. But when you play through the whole game, you find that there's some mechanic that gets introduced a third of the way in that you just don't like or you don't enjoy. So you're not going to like the speedrun. So play through it, and if you enjoy it casually, then you consider speedrunning it. That's like the real trick.
There's also the potential for you to enjoy a game casually and then not like how it plays as a speedrun too. That happens a fair amount as well.
One of the interesting things here actually is lunge can only be chained while Clive is a kid. For some reason, when he's an adult, he can only do one, so we have to deal with a landing lag. So this is really like an early game movement tech that may last, depending on how long the full game is, if we like immediately grow up after this. It's
I'm very lucky with my aerial combos. It happens.
Yeah, getting like good combat can be a little bit random here, because we want the goblins together, We
They
can,
have
like,
done
if we
everything except that.
Yeah, if we catch one of them with a lunge, we can keep carrying them to another one with a lunge, but when you get like a really like spread out group like that, it's very hard to cluster them together properly.
They're
There are
really not
also
cooperating,
some
are
that
they?
would argue that Final Fantasy X is more linear than Final Fantasy 13.
I'm always like very pragmatic, and I will sit on the fence all day. Each of these games have their merit and their downsides, and they're fun for certain people. Like 13, I personally don't like, but I can see why other people like it when I look at the speedrun or just casual playthroughs.
I don't think there's anything wrong with a linear game.
Nope.
Yeah, that's another thing too. Like, it's not necessarily a problem if it's designed well, right? And some people will like the design of 13, and some people will not.
If you've not seen a Final Fantasy 13 speedrun, it is, in my opinion, up there in difficulty with Final Fantasy 12 on PS2. Like, it is one of the most incredibly demanding speedruns out there.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm not a huge 13 fan casually, but the speedruns of it are undeniably incredible.
So one of the things you may notice is that he's firing off the wing immediately. Because you get a damage multiplier and stagger, like, you may think that the strat is to immediately fire it off. Nice parry. But that isn't necessarily true, because it does take a while to recharge, and it takes a while to get the stagger here. So it's usually best to get the free damage and stagger winging early, and then it'll slowly refill by the time we get the stagger, so we can fire it off then.
Yep, I just went to force stagger on that one because
it's
not
better
gonna...
than risking getting bonked for sure. You could probably get enough damage while he's down here with air combos.
Yep.
So we have to like kind of figure out which is the best, because sometimes it could be better to throw the wing early and force the stagger with it, or depending on how high we can get the multiplier. Early game, it's very hard to tell because we can't really like increase that multiplier super easily. So it seems like the idea would be to throw the wing in, but it might be better to just force the staggers and throw the wing ASAP every time you get it back. So we're just kind of like having to rough it until we figure out which is the best.
I didn't want to hit that one. Little hot on my lunge.
You're definitely doing better than me, because I spend half the time like doing 4 different lunges in each corner of the room.
DMC reboot and basically movement by stinger is a lesson that I have definitely put into effect with this one.
Yeah, it is something I've had to learn for sure. Yeah, even with the demo, like for the couple of days we've had it, there's so much testing. Like there's so many things that like we may have overlooked some sort of like really strong thing. Like the downward thrust here, hitting multiple times on Marble is something I never even considered. So it's just one of those things where like everybody has to kind of work together, because no one of us is going to have perfect ideas or like, wait, you can do that. Because somebody showed off that you can use the parry ring to like get multiple parries off of the bad breath here. So there might be a tech with the ring where we can get multiple like parry counters by dodging purposefully back into lingering hitboxes and then perfect dodging out of it.
I wanted to sneak that wing in before he went underground, because by the time he comes back up, you get a free recharge. Or
That's the one thing too, is remembering to like smoke them when you got them. Like right now, all we have is the wing, but in the Iconic Challenge, we'll have 6 different skills plus limit break. So we need to know to like, you need to burn them, because the iconic abilities will build your limit break. So using it early and often is probably correct. And using the iconic abilities to rebuild it, and then use the limit in between iconic cooldowns. So it's a really interesting like setup that we have for the Iconic Challenge. But this is like the very basic gameplay. It's actually pretty interesting despite having very limited tools. It's given us a really good chance to test a bunch of things.
Which is good. That's usually you want, if the start has decent things, that bodes well, hopefully, for the whole game, we hope.
Ooh, nice. That was an interesting push. I would have gone for the parry. Oh, bad breath is the worst to get caught by.
Yep. I was just a little off on my timing.
So the one down, like, air combos do more damage, but you can dodge while you're in the air. air, but you can't get the counters. So this jury's still out on that too, whether it's worth being on the ground to dodge and then get the high stagger hit, or just maintaining aerial combos. So there's just a lot of testing that still has yet to be done. This game has a lot of interesting interactions that we have yet to fully explore.
And realistically, at least in this portion of the run, like what we're given in the demo, we probably actually only have control in combat of maybe 15 minutes, if that. And we have all of these variables to try and figure out already. Like it's very impressive.
Actually, something I forgot to mention, when he digs out and then pops back up, sometimes you can ping him with random fireballs, but you never know which direction Clive is facing, so I usually just spam every time he digs down and then comes back up. You might get a couple of like 20, 30 damage if you're lucky. Doesn't really change much in the long haul, but there's a lot of like interesting interactions like that that are not obvious. The problem is that Clive will just start shooting in one direction. It looks really awkward. Yeah, wild lunge is pretty awful because you can't like stop it with the middle stagger or end stagger. They'll just block his HP and his stagger. Now, Remake has that same issue where certain enemies take a while to spawn in, so things will get locked off. Luckily, the worst that happens with bosses is their HP lock, and then the phase ends immediately.
Very nicely done.
Yep.
Not bad. Again, like I'm still like I'm not like super hyper focused on good times yet. I'm more of figuring out what feels good, what works good, what ends up being fast.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, like I said, Magic Burst technically has the highest DPS, but it's really hard to do, so a lot of people don't do it because it just doesn't feel good. And if you don't do it right, it doesn't have the highest DPS. So it's just one of those things that like you'll go through and learn. Marlborough is not an easy fight. I've practiced that fight for quite a few times, and I still can't dodge most of its moves. I get slapped around pretty hard.
Sometimes you don't even need to take an analytical approach with learning a speedrun. I think the big thing, honestly, is the level of this depth is really kind of not exclusive, but comes more into play with things like action RPGs because there are just so many variables when dealing with enemy AI, an open world, multiple skill trees, multiple equips.
Oh yeah.
Like turn-based RPGs have their own difficulties and logistics and things you want to sort out in terms of routing a speed run and breaking it down. But action RPGs, definitely the added complex ability of enemies to react to you is a super big thing. I probably should have hit with another fireball there and just hope that it hit.
Yeah, because this loads a cutscene, so you can just spam fireballs from however far away you're fine.
Yep, because you always get reset to the same spot after the
so
cutscene.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah,
it's the nice thing of figuring out stuff like that.
So I always like talking about like action RPGs really are some of the most complicated games to actually root because not only do you have the normal complexity that comes with being an RPG, you still have to actually execute things, and the way things are executed can very much change how fast things end up actually being. Yeah. There's just a lot. There's just an extra set of variables. You kind of have to do both the action game thing and the RPG thing.
Yeah, as like somebody that is relatively new to action RPG speedrunnings that came from like 7 Remake, it was very like jarring the amount of control you have in this game and like how much you can actually do outside of like performing special attacks. So it takes a while to get used to for anybody that's like coming from that same mindset. I wouldn't worry about it too much.
Yeah, and that's the fun thing, Moonduck, is even if you don't plan on it, it's still sometimes really good. Even if you're just a casual enjoyer of video games, just to see things from a different perspective, you know, because it can open up a lot of new avenues for you gameplay wise. Or heck, maybe you might find out that maybe I do like playing this. There's a certain challenge that I enjoy from it. I got spun around so bad.
360, let's go. No scope.
I mean,
That door got it.
to follow that up, like I don't speedrun, but I still like. There are things I have found out that I can do in games from speedruns that I now do in like regular playthroughs. You know.
Yeah. That's like, I would personally, I don't run like glitch categories, but it's infinitely interesting me to see like how broken a game can get.
Well, it's also just things like, I mean, one of the perfect examples of this is like little things you can pick up from like like just routes you can go to, or combos that equip that you've never would have thought of in a in a normal run that you then pick up for speed running from a speed run. You go, oh, I wonder how that would affect a normal playthrough kind of thing.
I straight up would not have considered air combos if people hadn't been talking about it in Discord. I've been like, why would I jump in the air? That sounds like it leaves me defenseless and it's a bad idea. Turns out DPS is way better up there. It makes your life a lot easier.
Well, more damage is more good, as my old grandmama used to say.
The quicker the enemy dies, the less risk you're at.
That's the Stranger of Paradise theorem.
Yep.
Faster the enemy dies, the less chance it has to killing me.
So yeah, you can parry pretty much any enemy attack, but learning the timing can be very challenging. That's where I find that the parry ring is really nice, because the game will slow it down, so you're like, oh, I should be dodging around this time. So it's not even just like a tool to like make speedruns a bit easier, but it's also a learning tool, so you don't have to spend a whole bunch of time trial and error. So there's some value to it in multiple different ways. It showed me that I can actually parry some of these moves that I was just like, oh, I'm just going to get slapped in the face. But, oh, wait, no, I don't have to get slapped in the face. Oops. Yeah, one of the things that like a lot of people don't even think about casually is just running from enemies. Like, why do I need to fight this? It's one of those things.
A lot of times
like,
you don't.
Yep.
More XP is more good.
Yeah, because me casually, it was just like, if it's in front of me, it's dead. And then at some point I realized, I was like, wait, I don't have to fight everything. I can just be like, yeah, peace, I'm out. I'm already level 50. I don't need to kill this. No more goblins for me, thank you.
But what if you were level 51?
We don't have a ton of frame of reference to Tom, dude, on patches and what they're going to do. Traditionally, Square Enix does patch games, but what they actually do tends to vary wildly depending on the game itself.
Yeah.
What they said is that there is no day one patch, but I will tell you that the for the stream that they did, they were on a slightly different version of the demo. That was actually a very clean fight.
Yeah, I think Wody mentioned it was 0.05 and we're on 0.01, so...
Yep.
I was going to say, and I know that even hearing from like Maximilian, dude, who played this demo before, this was a newer version of the demo than what he played at Square Enix's offices about a month ago.
I believe it, yeah.
I mean, that was a few weeks ago for him too as well, so...
just more so, like, there are just constantly changes happening, and we don't know what that means for their patches. In the past, they haven't really done a lot of stuff like that. I know for Stranger of Paradise, for example, was run by Koei Tecmo. So that might follow their patching process more so than Square's exactly.
Yeah, a lot of people are saying there is a day one patch, so I guess they
a 300 megabyte day one. That's not a day one patch. That's we forgot this one thing, and yeah, comparative to some of the things we have seen come from companies before, there have been games that have come out unplayable day one. I've been a part of a few of them.
Yeah,
this is my reminder.
Bethesda.
Yeah, Bethesda has the neat trick of just having their community fix it for them, and then offering the good ones jobs. Which I don't like being an unpaid beta tester, but the fact that Bethesda just like has so much trust in their community and is like willing to hire some of them is really cool.
I don't want to pay you money for a game that doesn't work right.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, that is it. So in normal gameplay, dodging would allow us a chance to do a high damage, a higher damage counterattack and like do some extra stagger. In these Eikon fights, all it does is prevent you from getting slapped in the face and losing eventually.
Yeah, you and me both, Tom. The Tom dude. Casual grinding.
I will say, as someone that struggled with the same thing Boonduck did, putting the installing the M2, the technically it's not an external, but the expansion M2 in a PS5 is very simple. Like very, very simple. You just need to make sure that it is the right speed. But thankfully, if you use Amazon or whatever have you, your preferred purchasing place, most of the M2 drives that are compatible with the PS5 will very, very largely and proudly proclaim that they are, in fact, compatible for the PS5 because it needs to be at a certain speed.
That being said, please support your local businesses.
Yes, I am so, and I mean this, incredibly blessed to live very close to a micro center, and it is so wonderful. Those that don't know, a micro center is basically, it's just a giant computer store, and their pricing is great, and they price match, and they have very knowledgeable staff there. And heck, if you are uncomfortable building your computer, you can just
Get them to do it.
buy all of your stuff and pay them a little extra fee, and they'll put it all together for you and get it up and running.
Yeah, Lookout is in the process of installing an SSD in their PS5 while watching. So,
Yep. It's super simple. It feels sketchy at first because the way the body panels are mounted onto the PS5, you kind of have to do like a somewhat twist and slide motion, which with plastic never feels good. But then they just kind of right off. It's 2 screws and that's it. Plug it in. The PS5 will be like, excuse me, have you put something in my internals? And you're like, yes, I did. Like, okay, let me test it, make sure it's good, and there you go.
Yeah.
Very easy. Yeah,
Chat's
clean the
saying
fans too while you have it
cleaning.
open.
You definitely want to like learn so you can clean it every once in a while. I got in there the other day and hit it with some compressed air to get the dust out of the fan, and it was just like, oh, whoops, should have cleaned it sooner.
Yeah, it's not as much as I don't want to go harp on about it, the design is very nice because there's like a nice little grill over the fans that prevents the dust from getting sucked into the system. Really nice touch.
Yeah.
Like, say what you will, but Sony, like the past 2 consoles, the PS4 and the PS5, yeah, we can complain about, well, just wait 2 years, they'll put out a better one. Both the PS4 and PS5, in terms of like, hey, I want better storage. Like with the PS5, it was speedrunners throwing solid state drives in. It's a very simple process to do it, and they don't like. With the PS4, it's literally, I think, at most 5 screws and a plastic tab, and they have their entire operating system right on the website and walk you through, hey, you want to put a new hard drive? Here's how you do it. It's really simple.
This goes all the way back to the
Okay.
PS3, by the way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The PS3 is, depending on model, I think mine was like 13
Time is coming up
screws.
shortly.
Yep. Right after it says, what is it, Icon defeated?
Icon defeated, yeah. So right after it pops up with a win, little bar in the middle, that'll be it.
Like a 30-minute speed run, and you're only in control about 10 to 15 of it.
I mean, that's a demo.
And that's time.
Yay!
Yay.
Beats me out by 30 seconds, and that GG.
29-31.
29-31 is pretty consistent, but like I mentioned, I lost so much time here and there just to enemies not stacking up right. I couldn't get the aerial combo off. But again, I had fun, and that's the most important part. Is it's fun, it's exciting.
Yeah. And the learning process is more of like, it should just be like, okay, you feel better because you've learned better. And, you've learned the game a little bit more. Also, if you do a speedrun of this, make sure that you actually have a separate save file so you can get all the items in there instead of skipping everything speedrun wise.
I'm just
I guess we're gonna fire up the Icon challenge.
Yeah, I know.
But how long did you get through this?
I know we wanted to turn the brightness up because apparently for some reason it captures fairly dark.
It was always fine on my end, but it is dark, dark, dark. So we can do that in the first menu.
Oh yeah, wow. That capture is definitely different system.
So the main difference with the Eikon challenge is this is unsavable, so practice is a lot harder, and we have a lot more tools. Almost too many to talk about.
So do you want to explain what the Eikon challenge is?
And somebody in chat tell me if I've spelled icon correctly.
Eikon. Okay.
Eikon, apparently.
Because it's square spelling.
This is a separate demo that comes with the actual demo. Once you beat it, they let you play this to kind of like, because the demo with the story is so tight on what it lets you actually do, because it's the intro to the game. This is basically, they took apart from later in the game and just gave you a bunch of random abilities and said, hey, here's what the full game might actually play like once you get a little deeper into the game.
This is your actual like normal demo where it's like, here, you have power overwhelming. Just destroy. Have fun.
Yep. As we mentioned, the lunge can't chain them together, and there is a horrendous cooldown animation on it.
Yeah, so if you really want optimal movement, you hop dash, but it's really just obnoxious, to be honest. You can't do it while you're crouched here. It's really weird. Like, once you get through this segment, then you can hop dash. And you want to like do it as close to the ground to kind of cancel it out. So like you can't do it upstairs. If you really want to be optimal, but you can just walk everywhere, don't worry about it. You really only need lunge for combat, because we can stack enemies together by cow catching them on the lunge and pushing them into a big group.
Bob, look, haptic feedback 3 times in a row.
Yeah, this is...
I hate it almost
this,
as much as I hate randomizers.
I was livid when I saw this. I was like, you've got to be. No.
This was the borderline Nintendo stuff, where it's just like, this is the gimmick, we're going to do it anyway.
Yeah. So yeah, when he's... So it's kind of weird, because like whenever he's crouching, it messes with the movement, but we have all of the abilities from the original part. We have multiple abilities we can choose for the Phoenix, and we have multiple abilities we can choose for both Titan and Garuda. Most likely we'll have these, at least Garuda, after this area, so this is more like a have fun demo. Titan really kind of focuses on power overwhelming, charged attacks, somewhat timed inputs to like charge them up properly. Garuda is less about damage and more about getting enemies staggered. And Phoenix is the kind of nice middle road where it hits hard, but it's okay with staggering. So a lot of what... you know what? I forgot to do that yesterday when I was in the demo. We actually get a different piece of armor, weapon, and accessories, so we can upgrade our equipment if we remember to go in there, get a little bit extra DPS, defense. No reason.
Very high fantasy medieval setting.
Yeah.
Yep.
I also swapped out one of my abilities that I've just been having fun with because of it's another ranged attack.
Which one did you swap out on the Eikon?
I went with Heat Wave over Rising Fist or Rising Wing.
Oh, yeah, I could see that. I usually stick with Rising Wing because I think the DPS is a little bit higher, but I could see Heat Wave.
It is.
But a lot of them have utility, right? So that's the nice thing about Heat Wave is it reaches out and touches somebody, so you don't have to stack them all together and hope the wing hits everything.
Oh yeah, why don't we show off some limit breaks?
Yeah. So like I said before, if we tap stuff with Eikon abilities here, we'll rapidly build limit. So what we can do is throw out some Eikon moves and then follow up into a limit and then just kind of loop the two. Combat here is going to be a little bit more wild because we have quite a few enemies.
I forgot to turn those off. Oops.
I just end up leaving it on and then forget, and then I get to the assassin and I'm like, oh, I forgot it again.
So what are Eikon moves?
So icons are basically kind of the stand-in for summons, but it seems like each area has their own icon, which is basically their huge military force.
Right? No. I'm getting the icons are summons, but you're talking about icon moves.
Yeah, they're
These little abilities right here. So
Yeah.
like this one.
yeah.
Basically,
So-
like all the elemental attacks that we're using are pulled out of the summons, essentially.
Okay.
Like that's Titan's like punch thing.
Parry into iconic strike.
All right.
Well,
Yeah, basically they're like special moves from DMC, except you can change between. It's a lot like DMC. You can change between stances to get access to special moves, but we're changing between summons. There's a few attacks that we have just like given to us, and we have a few alternates we can choose to pick up if we want. A lot of people are just going with the basic ones. They're just basically like really heavy hitting moves that have utility in different places. Like the green attacks mainly are really good at staggering enemies. The yellow punches can do a lot of damage if we charge up properly and are pretty decent at staggering. And then the Phoenix's red moves are just mainly DPS for the most part. They have kind of cooldowns, so it's a little bit more like MMO, where you use the move, then you gotta wait for it to come back. But we have so many moves, we just kind of shoot them off one at a time, and then they are all recharged by the next combat scenario for the most part.
one of the neat things that I picked up along the way is it took me a little bit to figure it out.
Oh, did you not want to grab the Cyclone Ring?
You know what?
It's at the bottom of the stairs. Don't worry about it. There's a couple of rings that will boost our icon damage for our Phoenix attacks. I can't remember where the other one for Rising Wing is, but there's one for the spin move that's right next to that stairway that I usually grab. By the time I said something, we were way up the stairs. I was like,
Yeah, it's all
should have said
good.
something. PC version someday, yeah, that's the hope. But remake kind of
6
shattered.
months, maybe?
I would hope so. Remake was kind of obnoxious, and I think it was mainly because of the intergrade, which was basically 0.5 or whatever, that made it take so long. But this one actually runs well on its native console, so hopefully we won't have to wait as long. So yeah, there's a nice, each one of them kind of has a decent AoE move where you can hit everything around you. The Titan Slam there is a lot better at clearing out groups of enemies. And so, yeah, if you get to the enemies as they're spawning in, you can just kind of clump them all up into one big punch. There's quite a few moves where you can get away with group clearing pretty easily. We're going to come up to the first mini-boss here. So we're going to have to be a little bit more focused on getting the staggers so that we can get good damage. Don't forget you have the strength potion on your right D-pad.
Mhm. Yep. I
Excellent.
dumped that during the first fight. These should be pretty okay.
Oh, really? I usually hang on to them for the bosses, but
Yep.
makes sense.
One of the things that I very much enjoyed figuring out a couple of days ago was there is a lot going on screen. That is just kind of how the game works.
Yeah.
But there's those two little like lights there that are quite wonderful because what they do is they light up when when it's recharged, so you don't have to cycle through.
I actually just noticed that. Yeah, there's a little like gold bar above that has like 2 green, 2 red, and 2 yellow. The reason they're colored like that is once you master an ability, you can actually give it to a different icon. So like we can mix and match them once we actually get enough ability points. Right now we don't have enough, but the little button will light up. So the thing is, we can cycle between these different stances basically with the left L2, I believe. And each of them kind of have their own thing. The red has the like a quick dash, which will allow us to attack while we're dashing in. Green will actually grab an enemy and pull it towards us. But if we're doing like bosses here, what the game will actually do is just give us like a double jump. And Titan also has like a guard that you can hold on to, or you can also do a perfect counter, kind of like you do when you dodge and counter attack. I've been using that a little bit more recently, so we're kind of like just rapidly swapping between the two and taking advantage of the tools that we specifically like. Because right now we really haven't defined a meta with any of this stuff. We're just kind of like, well, it hits hard.
Ooh, counter parry, nice.
Nice, yeah. Getting a parry there will heavily increase the amount of damage dealt to the stagger bar. So it makes it a lot easier to put enemies down. Unfortunate, we don't have a lot of extra abilities to fire off right here. Yeah, normally what we're looking for is to just kind of dump all of our special moves at the last second there when they get staggered for the damage multiplier. The only one is the Talons with Garuda. It does like almost no damage, so we really don't bother with it very much. We just use it when a boss gets back up to get the stagger bar. Plenty of stagger damage. Yeah, let's go.
Very nice.
It's these fights are not impossible. They're fairly difficult the first few times, and optimizing these fights can be pretty chaotic.
I am also a fan of the accessibility. We were talking about it earlier. I'm really hoping, just like the last couple of products that Square has put out, like Forspoken has a really good like visual impairment
I think it's right
option with like
yeah, it's right at the top.
This is Meteor.
Oh, you're picking this up? Okay, never mind.
So that's another thing that I think might inevitably be pretty interesting is there's some sort of crafting system along with this game. So who knows what else?
Because of course there is.
Listen, I'm excited for it. I'm like a child in a candy shop.
The frustrating part is like we can't craft anything and we can't save this, so there's a bunch of like useless items just literally everywhere in the demo.
And we don't know what they do, so that'll also be pretty interesting.
Yeah, so we can pick up these different. I think that one actually is for the wing move you got rid of.
Yep, Heat Wave.
Like
that one's actually for Heat Wave. You're right.
You've hit on the two kind of things I expect to hear from every game at this point, which is crafting system and Souls-like. Like,
yeah,
it just
Souls-like is a lazy explanation for a video game, in my opinion. There's so many better ways you can describe things.
Yeah.
So a lot of these mages will start casting Cure here, so we have to make sure to take them out first, or they'll just keep healing everybody before we can finish them off. This, I think, room doesn't have a healer, but the next few that have mages in them will have healing, so we'll want to take them out first if we can catch them. It took me a while to figure out where they spawn. Gotta love the 2 gil. It's just like cool.
I'll need that later.
I don't know why it's so low.
It's like
what if potions sell? We haven't seen a shop in the game yet, have we?
We don't even get to keep it, so it's like, what is the point, though?
I mean, like, technically the demo, like, the 2 gil would carry over into the main game.
For this story one, yeah. This one we can't save, so, like, it's completely
But it's just, like, how much... Because, like, the traditional potion is, what, 50 gil in Final Fantasy? So, like, are they really giving us 1/25th of a potion as a pickup? Like, is that actually a thing?
To be fair, we can spam potions pretty aggressively in combat, and there's no, like, animation associated, so... Healing is free real estate.
Not really, though, because you can only carry so many at a time.
It's free.
Yeah, I mean, you can use them without penalty, is what I mean, for the most part. You don't get a ton of them, you are correct. You only get a few in combat, so you don't have an endless supply of HP.
Yeah, you can't just, like, potion tank your way through fights, it seems like. So it's very... I don't know, I'm very curious why 2 gil, if that's a demo... It can't be a demo thing if they're going to have the demo carry over. So, like... What is the purpose of 2 gil? Is that like, is money going to be that tight this game? I don't know. It's very interesting.
Nice run.
Yeah, that was very clean.
Charging the Titan attacks is almost.
You got them all in that corner. I usually have a bit of an issue with them kind of separating because I go after the mages first to avoid the healing over and over again. But you got them all in one Titan slam. Nice. So this is one of the assassins. These guys, or at least I call them assassins. They're a little bit harder. They'll warp around the arena and then attack. So usually we kind of want to like spam Garuda to get the stagger immediately. But we have to be careful that we don't just let him slap us out of moves. So.
There we go. Good parry.
Yeah, that works too. Garuda's really good at staggering, but it's also really bad damage and pretty slow, so it's kind of in this weird spot where it's like good, but it's bad.
As the kids would say, it's quite mid.
Yeah, mid is definitely a good description.
Another
nice parry. That'll set you up for like the quick stop too, from the mid stagger. Nice. That fight went pretty well, honestly.
Come on.
Yeah, he got away there. Yeah, I mean, you're right next to the door, so it ain't too bad.
Yeah.
He's just trying to
think
give you
the
an
wins with
easy
the
warp
loss.
point to get close to the door.
Yeah, a lot of this is like trying to group enemies together and get as close to the doors as possible when you finish things up. I think this is the last normal encounter, I want to say, right before Benedicta. Oh. Nothing too difficult here.
Yep.
Just
Wrong button.
that works too.
Yeah, that's...
Yeah, we got plenty of time before the boss anyway, so you really don't have to worry about holding onto your abilities. They'll be about half charged or fully charged by the time you get up there anyhow. So you can really fire off a few shots. Yeah, so like one of the things with like learning and speedrunning too is just remembering which direction to go. It's super easy to be like, wait, was it a left? No, it's a right. And even for me, I was like practicing Eikon Challenge this morning, and it took me like 5 or 6 runs to completely remember the layout, and that's just one single map. It takes a while.
I mean, all this game needs now is item durability, and it's hit the trifecta, right? Like,
so Benedicta's going to play the out game with us here. Just want to be careful there. The arrow can sap your HP really quick. I got stuck by that before too. That arrow is like a really good opportunity to try and knock her out of it, but if you don't knock her out of it, arrow sucks about half your hit points. It's pretty rough. Once we get the stagger, we should be able to put her down in one
She's
go.
taking a ton of damage.
Yeah, this first phase is really like very glass. As long as we push out the damage quickly enough here, we'll get in phase 2 right after this. So all we got to do is make sure that we just kill her in this stagger, and we're good to go. There is another ring too that will make Torgal attack, which I usually leave on. Honestly, the game should have just been like that, so you don't have to control them. It is kind of nice, though, because it allows you to just focus on leaving your items open rather than having to command Torgal over and over again.
It gets me in a nice cycle, though, to be honest. Like,
Yeah.
I start building this internal rhythm, which is very, very common with a lot of, like, action RPGs, and it kind of shares territory with, like, rhythm games, so...
Yeah, you just remember the input strings rather than, like, the song itself. You're like, okay, up, down, right, left, up, right, down, right, stuff like that.
And I mean, part of that is just a lot of fights, like, especially, like, Stranger of Paradise or Final Fantasy VII-R, like, you don't think about, oh, I see this. It's like, I got to do this input, this input, this input. You just kind of fall into that string of inputs.
Probably a good practice to get into because we have 3 accessory slots. So the chances of having like not having 3 good enough accessories to make it reasonable to take the Torgal ring off is very unlikely. So we'll have to most likely manually control him at some point. We can probably get away with it for early game, but late game, not so much. Ooh, nice dodge. I always get freaking stomped on there. Yeah, so as you can tell, a lot of her special attacks are very similar to our green ones. I believe Benedicta is Garuda, so this fight will probably be a little bit harder in the final game because we won't have Garuda. If we're lucky, we'll have Titan and Ifrit, but or Phoenix, not Ifrit. So we'll see. Arrow Rain is pretty rough because there's not much we can do. Just kind of like throw some spells out and hope they land. I think you can out damage her and stop her before she gets into Arrow Rain, but it's pretty hard.
so for those of you who are joining us, we are doing a bit of a walkthrough and chat about Final Fantasy XVI, the demo that came out, and the way that the approach to speedrunning it, testing, things like that. We did that earlier. And now we are seeing our speedrunner, Kyo's Little Monster, sort of flexing the skills. As we said, it's still a fairly early build. It's the demo, so we're not expecting anyone who presenting us like frame perfect stuff.
Yeah.
So we're here, we're experimenting, we're poking and we're prodding, all in the name of promoting the fact that it is the last day to register for RPG Limit Break, the speedrunning marathon that's coming up 16th to the 22nd of July this year. We will be raising money for NAMI, the National Alliance on Mental Illness. And it will be we're just sort of doing the stream to promote that we are in our last day of registration. So
If you want to attend, you must register. So.
Yes, or if you're not going to register, please join us here on this channel. We will be streaming the entire event. You can find out more of that over at RPGLimitBreak.com. You can find the schedule and things there.
Just a fraction too late. You can actually limit break out of some of these moves, which is really nice.
You could also like get the midpoint stagger to end it or back up. One thing I did want to mention with the Garuda's like spin move that pushes you in the air, if you switch to Titan and use like the slam move, you'll actually punch down while in the air. So you can like chain those two together, Kios. I don't know if you do that. I found it today actually.
Oh, nice. I'm down with that.
I was like,
again,
what?
this is we've probably as a community put, I'd say, at least 250 hours, maybe even more into this, and we're still finding stuff. And it's gameplay wise, there's 30 to 40 minutes, and we have that much. We're still learning.
Yeah, who knows if it's optimal? But this is like the community right here, right? So it's like, oh well, I found this thing, and it's like, well, I found this other thing, and it's just plopping that all together and figuring out and making out of it.
I got things to do today, but I'm still going to try and take a look at what Ranmaru has done and what Vinny has done. People that have a better time than me. I just want to see like what they're thinking, what they've been finding, where they're finding their optimalness now.
Yeah. And the cool part with like going into the slam move is you actually don't have to charge it. It just immediately slams on the ground. So it's kind of like a uppercut and a dive kick from like Remake. It's a really interesting combo. I'm surprised they like made those two link together. There's a lot of like cool interactions that I'm hoping to see in the rest of the game that are most likely possible.
I could have parried that.
Yeah, so...
But yeah, you can break out of that move.
Yeah. I was just going to say, Kios showed me that earlier, that you can limit break out of that grab even if you get grabbed, but you have to have limit break to do it, unfortunately. Luckily, you don't have to fill both bars. You only need one bar, so as long as it's yellow, you have access to limit break. There we go.
There we go.
I believe that is time.
That is time.
That's pretty nice. Pretty nice. I think like my best run after like doing 4 or 5 was like a 20, so not too bad. Not too bad.
This is technically my first
21-17. It looked like.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, GG.
Pretty sure there's a lot of foul language in that cut. So I'll skip that one.
Oh yeah, Benedicta is very, very angry.
She has a potty mouth. That is not for this channel.
Just if you didn't buy the game, remember to buy the game. Consume more product.
Ooh. But yeah, GG.
Yeah, it was a great showcase. Thanks, Keo.
Yeah.
Yep.
Thank you much.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about the processes that you went, like just before we like wrap things up. We talked a lot about how you did the story section. How are you going about testing the Eikon section?
Unfortunately, as Sid mentioned, there's no way to save and repeat. You just kind of have to got to do it. Yeah. Unfortunately,
it's a lot of like feeling and micro testing.
Timing, lots of timing. Live splits is your friend. Time reset. This
is definitely like the resource of like a Discord, where like individual people go, I like that JoJo's punch move that you can do with the Titan. How much damage can that do? And they'll sit there and test it, and then we kind of like all come together and be like, this is pretty good at that, but it's not good at this. And we kind of figure out the problem. If we have so much stuff, like how much do we want utility? How much do we want to murder bosses, right? So we have to kind of like figure out that balance and then also test our damage output. It's annoying without the save. It's nice that we get to look at the stuff, but
yeah. Because I like just from watching it, or at least from what I saw today, it feels almost more like a spectacle fighter than it does an ARPG at points, right? Like you say, like a DMC or like a Bayonetta or something.
I've seen that a lot in the Discord. People kind of throwing that around.
Yeah,
especially the Eikon moves that you were talking about. They feel a lot more like the sort of thing you would find, like you say, with like a devil mode in DMC or something like that.
There's a nice blend of everything, and thankfully, it's really kind of fallen in my wheelhouse of runs that I've invested a lot of time into. Would be DMC, Nier Automata, Final Fantasy 15. It's like a good amalgamation of that combat. There's the precision of Nier, there's the special abilities of DMC, and just the movement feel of 15. So it's definitely, I think, one that's, at least overall, casually or speedrun, I think getting into the combat is going to be pretty easy for anyone, to be honest.
Yeah. Initially, it was like a little bit of a shock for somebody that just like started remake, but I picked it up pretty quick. Not the best at it, but it is so cathartic when you actually start like hitting the combos, hitting the counters, and it doesn't even take that much time to really like get someone okay with it. And it's not hard enough to be like, it's not worth playing. Even at a casual level, I think the game is more than fair enough that it's worth getting into.
Okay. Well, thank you very much for your time today. I mean, been quite instructional.
Yeah, I think it's been a fantastic
nice.
case for sure.
Yeah, I very much same. I appreciate being able to like talk about the speedruns in more general. So, thank you for having us.
So, while we're doing that, Kios, where can people find you on the regular?
I stream pretty much every day at twitch.tv/Kios Little Monster. If my timing is unfortunate for you, I pretty much upload almost everything to YouTube as well.
Sid, where can people find you?
Same thing. I'm more of a midday streamer, so more European times, but same name, the_Sid. I do a lot of Final Fantasy VII Remake, but I'll be branching out into 16 and obviously Rebirth when they drop.
Ghoul, where can people find you, since you've been quite instructional today as well?
I'm Ghoul02 on Twitch or on YouTube. You can find me at GhoulSRL, although most of my YouTube content lately has been TCG oriented. But
ooh, well, it's been great doing this, but we are here for a reason, as I mentioned earlier. Ghoul, do you want to talk a little bit about it?
Yeah, so again, just one final reminder. This is the last day to register to attend RPG Limit Break. If you go on the website, create an account. If you don't already have one, click register. That's the only way you'll be able to attend in person. Of course, that's not the only way you can enjoy Limit Break. We will be, of course, streaming to this very channel. That starts in a little bit under a month. I think it starts on the 16th. So,
yes.
Naturally, we're going to be supporting our usual charity, which is National Alliance on Mental Illness. We've been supporting them since the very first event, and we're very happy to be doing that again for this year. If you want to help out, unfortunately, volunteer applications did close last week. Bob is, of course, quickly going through those if you're wondering when those are going to show up and when we're going to have schedules. So we'll have those soon. But if you haven't, there also are links through our Discord for donating prizes. These can be just about anything that's related to the games in the schedule, which we have a fantastic schedule this year as well. And would love to see either any of you out either at the event or in chat when the event actually happens. Super exciting. It's the best week of the year for me always. So I'm extremely excited for it.
Yeah, just to confirm a few dates, today is your last chance to register. Prize submissions will close on the 2nd of July, and that should be the we say close, that's a soft cap, and that should be the day that the volunteer schedule comes out as well. Fingers crossed we can get everything sorted by then. If we can't, well, certain substances have hit some sort of oscillating device. But yeah, super hype. We'll also have a pre-show that's that'll start at 11:30 Mountain, because we are operating out of Salt Lake City, Utah. So on the 16th, 11:30. I'll try and get here for 11:15 Mountain Time. I'm so hyped for this. I can't wait. Just give me more. Give me more of this. Let's do it.
It'll be a good time for sure. Also, don't forget, apparently we do have the Dragon Quest IV International Community Race. coming up next weekend. Definitely hop by, say hi, check it out.
Yeah.
Of course, we do have a lot of great community content as well for the channel.
Lots of great community content. We are also. Why am I making grave hands? Because I want to be at the event, Natara, and I want you to play D&D, but you never will. Yeah, I called you out on stream. Yeah, like I said, there's plenty of fun events like that. Plenty of community events. There's lots of stuff going on here in the Limit Break channel, but this stream specifically was to promote registration for the event. Please, everyone in chat, one more time, say thank you to Kyo, School, and Sid for walking us through the demo of Final Fantasy 16.
Oh, thank you.
One thing real quick, I wanted to give a shout out to the Final Fantasy 16 Discord for also hosting the link to this. If you guys want to join that Discord, there is a leaderboard and there will be a link in there. Just got to look for that tiny little Discord icon somewhere on the page, and that'll link you over to us. So if you want to start speedrunning, feel free to come and join the Discord. Everybody is very welcoming. We're all trying to figure out how to make it faster.
Me go fast.
Yep.
Well,
And,
with that,
I think with that, we are about to wrap up then.
yeah, we will leave you as I always do, at least, by saying, guys, gals, non-binary pals, and all those beyond that spectrum. In the words of the 16th President of the United States, Abraham Lincoln, be excellent to each other. Party on, my friends.
Party on.
Party on.